Mic check 3. It sounds good.
Second and 15 as they're chopping down on his legs, and then they take him down high as well. Ika finished it.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
First and throw. Smith and Jigba's open, and again Stroud drops it in, stiff arm all the way to the end zone. Touchdown, Jackson Smith and Jigba.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
Inside the 15. With Bryce Young. Young is going to take off running. Bryce Young, touchdown, Alabama. Does it with his arms, and now he does it with his legs.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
Texas has got to come back to the left side here if they're going to have success.
And they do. Robinson flushed. Touchdown, Texas.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
End zone pass is caught. Flag on the play. Touchdown, Gallup.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
You know, last weekend there were a handful of college games, not many, and there are a bunch, as many tonight as there was all of last weekend. And we know of our fan base, as far as fan base of college football and those who watch or listen or participate with us, that West Virginia, Pittsburgh gets back at it tonight. And that is, to me, the headliner. Yes, there's Penn State, Purdue, and there are a couple of Oklahoma State, UCF are both not playing each other but playing tonight. But how about it? Pittsburgh and West Virginia, the chat room's already going into it as they play tonight. And we really do, I think, kick off college football tonight, this weekend. Not so much last weekend. I can't wait.
Last weekend outside of Nebraska Northwestern felt like preseason games to me. Because, that was a conference game, so that one was real. But the other ones, not that they weren't, but, Vanderbilt, Hawaii felt like a preseason game. Florida State, Duquesne felt like a preseason game. This week, everybody's got to, really, really strap it on. So,
well, there's some games. There are some that UCF's playing South Carolina State, Ball State, Tennessee, Central Michigan at Oklahoma State. But that West Virginia-Pittsburgh game, there's some bangers, as I call them, coming up also even tomorrow and even Saturday into the weekend as well. The rivalry of West Virginia-Pittsburgh, which we've learned more and more, always knew it was good, the backyard brawl. Then there was a long delay. We have just put up a poll. Who do you have winning tonight? Who do you like to see win tonight, West Virginia and or Pittsburgh? Max Olson today will join us at 3:30 to start off our guests. We have plenty of them to get to today.
I have Pitt tonight. I think they're a little bit more, even though that they're breaking in a new quarterback. Both teams are breaking in new quarterbacks and new offensive coordinators. I just think Pat Narduzzi's got a little bit more momentum over the years than Neil Brown does, but this is going to be a doozy of a ball game, so I don't expect it to be a blowout either way, but I've got Pitt.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for tonight. Last week did feel like a preseason slate. I don't think there's any, tiptoeing around that. Nebraska-Northwestern was the only relatively close game. All the rest of them were basically 2-score or more blowouts, so it was like a preseason slate, but I think a lot of people just had fun seeing their teams like Paul with Florida State at least be out there, no matter who the opponent was. But, yeah, tonight actually there's some meat to it. There's actually stakes to these games tonight. The only stakes last week really – outside of Nebraska Northwestern being a conference game, being a neutral site out in Europe, that kind of a deal, was, just like, hey, you need to win. Or it'd be good to win. But, now you're getting into backyard brawl being back and the uncharted territory of just, where Neil Brown's Mountaineers are going to go and where Pitt in a new era themselves are going to go, This was Jordan Addison's show last year. It's not anymore. He's off in Southern California. So, yeah, Pat Narduzzi's back, and a lot of people are back, but this is going to be a different-looking Pitt team. And Neil Brown, they lost a lot, but, some of those losses might have been a good thing in the long run, especially at quarterback. Both teams get a spike through the quarterback play. That Pitt also lost Kenny Pickett, but at least they were able through the transfer portal to kind of stave that off from being too big of a deal. So, from the former USC quarterback storyline, to just the head coaches themselves, and the fact that both programs are in sort of new territory this season, at least with just a refresh of kind of how you view them. There's a lot of fun to be had in just that game tonight, not to mention the return of a rivalry after so many years. And, we'll get to see a little bit of Tennessee. There's obviously a lot of optimism with them under Josh Heupel, and their, really biggest storyline this offseason, I think, was recruiting related and, their quarterback that's coming down the pipeline. But they feel like they're going to win some games and, and go on down the list. So, last week was fun. I think, for the gambling folks, any games are probably fun. I'm not necessarily one of those. So those games last week, I wasn't too plussed about really too many of those contests. But now we're getting into some games where I am very intrigued by the result, and not because of my pocketbook, because of, just all the talk we've had about these teams. I'm fascinated to finally see them out there actually playing football.
Tyler Haddock's on the chat. By the way, the text line open, 254-339-1122. Tyler Haddock, 7 p.m. Can't get here. Can't come quick enough. Also, even I am Booner Sooner. Zesty's Retro and Games. Something about Donovan Mitchell's moving on. Rhino reselling football today.
Spider Mitchell got traded today. I guess I'll have that off the radar.
Yeah,
but
we'll get into
pretty
that.
big deal in the NBA.
I asked, how are the resident West Virginia Pitt fans? How are you doing? Are you breathing? Are you drinking? What are you doing? Paxton, Joey, and Go Big Blue Dude are tailgating at the Backyard Brawl. S. Michael DeHart, Smokey, let's go, ready to whip spit. That's the nickname for Pitt from West Virginia fans, along with other things. Let's go moonshine. So there are a lot, and some of you, of course, are on the edge of crossing the line with your passionate of what you think about either team.
So so far, 61 votes, 64%. West Virginia, 36% Pitt. We have many more Mountaineers than Yinzers. That's what they call people from Pittsburgh, Yinzers. So,
I didn't ever heard of that. Is that what? No, I did not know that. Matt in D.C., I want West Virginia to be undefeated when Baylor heads to Morgantown. Top 10 matchup if true. Smash the like button. Yes, we appreciate that. I'm a diehard and lifelong Mountaineer and alum, and I'm not touching that poll. JT Daniels overrated from Justin. There's just a bunch of it's great. It's absolutely great to see that we're on game day with games and teams and fans that we have a part of 365 Sports.
Well, because JT Daniels has been a talking point. I was doing power rankings for the Big 12, and there's really nothing to go off of. But tonight I'll see two of those teams because Oklahoma State's also playing, and it might not be the backyard brawl-esque matchup that's going to really excite people who are not only hardcores but outsiders. I don't know how much Central Michigan really drums up a lot of excitement for people who maybe don't follow closely enough, but I am excited to see Oklahoma State and just what they look like. I think we kind of know the general deal about them, but they are having to replace a lot, even with the familiarity of Spencer Sanders and others. But how long did Malcolm Rodriguez play for the Cowboys? 25 years, and now he's not a part of the picture anymore. So it's just going to be interesting to see kind of how things change over for them. And for West Virginia, yeah, either a massive win right out of the gates for Neil Brown and kind of a tone setter, or there's the possibility that, yeah, JT Daniels is a little bit overblown because he almost single-handedly completely altered expectations for West Virginia in 2022. Now, I don't know how many Mountaineers fans were as confident as they were before JT Daniels. Like, I feel like probably some of them felt they would be better, but after they got him, literally the day they got him, it was like, we're going to the Big 12 championship game. And I know some of it was hyperbole, but I don't think all of it was. I think there was a legitimate belief that, like, hey, this is the key to us turning the corner. And when you had as poor play as they had for the last couple of years of that quarterback spot, I hate bagging on Jarrett Doege all the time, but that was a major issue for them. The hope is that JT Daniels, with his talent, can, stay healthy, number one. And if so, yeah, like completely turn the corner for them because of just his skill set. So we'll get a little taste of that tonight. A great test right out of the gates. And, obviously somebody's going to be feeling fantastic following that game tonight. It's just a matter of will it be Pitt fans or West Virginia fans. And that's the beauty of finally being able to see these games. The talk is going to remain, but at least there's some action to back up the talk for the first time in several months.
Central Michigan in 2016 beat Oklahoma State 30-27. The year before that, Oklahoma State won 24-13. Oklahoma State obviously getting a lot of attention in the top 15 or so, and especially overall, I could just put the blanket around the top 25. So that's a series that at least they have played a couple of different times. Penn State at Purdue. There's some high expectations from Jack McKenzie and his Boilermakers. That's a pretty good matchup right there with Purdue home against Penn State in the Big Ten game tonight. La Tech, who Baylor was going to open with, plays at Missouri tonight. That was going to be their opening game. Of course, that changed, so that's why they're playing Albany coming up on Saturday evening. Max Olson at 3:30, theathletic.com. Dr. Jerry Lynch, an author of many books and psychologist, who's a guy that Dave Aranda reached out to when he was a grad assistant at Texas Tech 20 years ago, had basically no money, found a way to get up to meet him, visited with him, spent like a couple of days with him, and it really has kind of formulated or helped him form who he is in a lot of different ways as a coach and also as a person. He'll join us today. Mickey on the Cowboys at 4:30. Craig's off the radar. Dan Hope, who covers Ohio State. They, of course, have the Notre Dame game coming up this weekend. Sam Bradshaw joins us, football analyst for our site at 5:30, and Paul's Top 5 today is on.
Top 5 things I want to hear from the playoff committee.
From the playoff committee, which, of course, might be coming out with some news tomorrow. Garrett, do we have the Sports Tonight graphic? This is from one of our listeners. And Biscuits and Gravy. She sent this up, put this up on her timeline. That is the show that we will start to have starting Monday on the CW channel in Waco. And you can see it listed at 10:30 every night. At 10:30 every night, this show will then be condensed into what we feel like are the most important topics, discussions, guests, whatever it is. And we'll have that starting Monday on the CW channel, along with our relationship and partnership with them when it comes to our pregame show on KWTX and the CW channel as well. They're really, today, after yesterday's news, of course, with the Big 12 putting out their statement, et cetera, really kind of a quiet day. Craig will catch up on some of the non-college football news and notes at 4:45 today. But today, Paul, Pittsburgh's the favorite. What do you think? They're at home. What do you think?
Like I said, I think Pitt's going to win. And maybe it's because JT Daniels has had 3 stops and Slovis has just had 2. I don't know. They're both former USC quarterbacks. I just trust Narduzzi a little bit more than I do Neil Brown right now. That's it. That's kind of my difference.
Craig, you have even an opinion on it?
I mean, yeah, I got opinions on it. Of course, I just ran down a bunch of what I'm looking forward to tonight.
No, I'm talking about the game itself. Who do you think you may win that game? I'm not really into predictions very much, but we'll do that on occasion, obviously.
I mean, I give a slight edge to Pitt, but I really have no idea tonight. I mean, it's the first game of the season. There's been multiple changes on both sides. I mean, I don't think that this is – I mean, I understand where Paul's coming from, but I'm not really looking at this as like the coach versus the coach matchup. I'm just looking at it from all the changes and just I'm ready to take it all in. But, yeah, I think Pitt's got to be a slight favorite because of what they return as opposed to what West Virginia returns. I think they've got a few more answers than West Virginia does. West Virginia lost a lot off their defense, and really a lot of what they're talking about so excitedly hinges around JT Daniels, which, again, if he's the JT Daniels that is at the top of his game, 5-star caliber quarterback, USC guy that was going to lead them back to prominence, if he has those shades, then yeah, that's going to, really push West Virginia a lot farther ahead earlier on than original expectations would have been had it been Garrett Green still.
Mm-hmm.
But, that's not a guarantee. There's a reason why he's also at West Virginia, so there's been some bumps for him, and he's got to prove that he can stay healthy throughout the course of a season. And, if he can, I think that bodes well. But I'm going with Pitt because I just, again, have more answers on their end. And, I'm just curious to see how this works out for West Virginia. But I'll go fully on board if they get a win tonight.
Jeffrey Thompson, been watching JT Daniels since he was at Mater Day. If anyone deserves some good fortune, this is the one. From Patrick Bohr. And by the way, guys, I'm excited that the College Football Playoff Board of Managers meeting tomorrow, adopt that 12-team playoff for 2 years of the current playoff contract and maybe even start that sooner than we thought. Couches will be burned tonight no matter what happens from Christian. I think it's either Richard or Richard. Let's see, from Dave M. Yeah, don't forget about the game in the new Premier Conference, according to David M. Penn State versus Pittsburgh. Oh, let's go. Oh, Mountaineers.
Purdue.
What did I say? Pittsburgh. Penn State against Purdue. Justin McGuffey, Golden Blue dude, has been juiced up all week. I think that's probably true. Patrick, I'll be watching the Empire tonight to watch West Virginia win. Does West Virginia have it on the line, both sides of the ball, to beat Pittsburgh from I am ... sooner? Don't know enough about that. Obviously, we think their defense is going to be pretty good at West Virginia. They say yins instead of y'all in that backwards part of the world around Pittsburgh from Clay TR.
Well, West Virginia's there's a little bit to like up front, but actually their defense is one of the question marks. They lost a lot through transfers this offseason. So, again, a lot of their hype is surrounding, yes, some of the skill talent, but, again, it's JT Daniels. That's really why we're talking about them the way we're talking about them, because I don't think you guys recall talking about them too highly before JT Daniels got there, right?
Yeah, not really.
We didn't. So, when he came, that changed expectations. So, yeah, tonight's the beginning of that journey. It's like listening to Texas fans these last 7 months about Quinn Ewers. And really, we've heard about him for 2 years. Why am I excited to watch Texas on Saturday? Just to see him finally freaking play. We've heard so much about Brent Venables and Jeff Lebby and Dylan Gabriel. Like, why am I excited to watch Oklahoma? Just to see them freaking play and see for ourselves. And I know we're not going to get the full meal deal from anybody this weekend, but we've been talking and talking and talking, and we got to talk for another 3 hours. But just so glad to know that we're going to get some actual oomph to these discussions. And some are going to, fly, and they're going to be better than expected. Some are going to just match expectations, good or bad, and some are going to be complete busts or shocks, and that's going to be fun to talk about along the way.
MH5 got the Minchers American and Monte Cristo Platinum ready for the evening. Go Big 12.
Yeah. By the way, $5 super chat from the DA, just $5.
Oh, just $5.
Yeah,
Thank you. Thank you very much. Let's see. Patrick, I'm not sure Oklahoma State is being televised. No, I thought I saw them. I thought they were. I thought when I looked at the schedule, when I put all this down, that they're on FS1. Yeah, there you go. Also,
and look, there is somewhere where you can find every game now.
Yeah, no, you're right. Even ESPN Plus with Baylor, Albany. David Smoak, prediction is a great steak and cigar. Justin, exactly, JT Daniel, Jesus for West Virginia. I'll believe JT's greatness when I see it from Static Fur.
Hey, and if he's great, great. We'll talk about it. If he's not, we'll talk about that too. But, yeah, I think, he's been a big talking point. There's a lot. If I was putting out my top storylines in the Big 12 or anybody who has, he's got to be one of them. Right there with Quinn Ewers, right there with Brent Venables, right there with – all the other things that are kind of the common talking points. But, yeah, I mean, when I'm doing my power rankings last night just as like a little weekly premium section thing, and, I'm like, where do I put West Virginia? They're kind of a hard team to peg until we see some evidence like tonight, because you can jump on that JT Daniels train. And look, it's not just all about him, but he really is going to be that X factor. I mean, he is clearly the X factor for them. So, right now, I've got them pegged towards the lower part of the conference, not dead last by any means, but not far off. And depending on how they play tonight, I mean, they could, not that my rankings are the end-all be-all, but they could certainly, gain a lot of ground in my mind depending on how they match up with Pittsburgh tonight. So can't wait. Can't freaking wait.
I tell you what I like tonight, and this is part of me and perhaps my age, but I think you could also be younger and have this same feeling. I love the fact that West Virginia and Pittsburgh are playing again. I know there might have been extenuating circumstances. There was the Big East. There wasn't, all that. This is the 105th meeting between those two teams. And I know that some are dissolved. Some are about to be renewed with Texas and A&M in whatever way and how they set up the SEC. But I do think that tradition does matter. And even we've had Bob Thompson, among others, say to us, and Burke Magnus said this, that tradition, when they do discuss some things, they look at tradition. Tradition matters. Again, Pittsburgh, West Virginia, 61 wins for Pittsburgh, 40 for West Virginia, and there have been 3 ties as well. What am I sipping on and smoking tonight? Nope, not tonight. Maybe I'll get a chance to chill out a little bit Saturday evening after covering the game and just getting through the week that we've had. Texas Buckeye, go Buckeyes, woo, woo, woo.
We have to leave here at like 6 o'clock in the morning to go catch a flight.
Yeah, we do.
So.
Yeah, we actually do.
Y'all are stuck with me tomorrow, but we're going to be really heavy college football. I mean, not that that's a lot different, but we'll have some games to talk about from tonight, results. Oklahoma State we'll dive into, and Pitt obviously against West Virginia will be a talking point. But then we'll have, there's Big 12 games tomorrow night, and then I think there's 2 of them tomorrow night, and then there's 6 on Saturday. So that alone, not to mention, of course, everybody else. So. Grayson and I will have you covered tomorrow from 3 to 6.
Static Fur, West Virginia defensive line is actually great, but there are definitely questions on the offensive line.
Yeah, you lose Mesidor, but you do have other parts that you do like. I'm not trying to single them out, but in the back end there are a bit more questions. There's I think I said there's something to like up front, but not necessarily. Throughout the defense, are you sitting there with a lot of answers? So, but hey, Pitt's got questions too. Mark Whipple's a big part of what they did last year. Quarterback play was a big part of what they did last year. Kenny Pickett's gone. Jordan Ass is gone. Mark Whipple's gone. That's not nothing. So it's not like Pitt just, they've got the head coach and then everything's back. No, there's some changes for them as well. But I do think Mesidor's lost for West Virginia, but I do think up front that will be a strength for them defensively. And then as for the rest of it, I know they've been hit hard by the transfer portal, so we'll kind of see how that goes.
Biscuits and gravy, BU peeps. My game tickets say no bags. Website says no bags. Can you confirm? As others have also said, clear bags are allowed. So if you're a BYU and you go to their home games in Provo, set it up for biscuits and gravy so she'll know for sure. OU Yardbird, think the transfer portal players will be known as the transfers, like when you talk about your rescued pets. He's a rescue. I'm not sure, but I think if he's good, you're going to love it. If he's not, you're going to go, okay. Did you guys watch Fox Sports 1 at lunch? They had a wonderful show during the lunchtime. No, I wish I would have had time to just chill out and watch something. I love what I do. I love the job. I love all the things involved. But this has been a week, a battering ram in a lot of good ways.
Did I watch Fox Sports 1 ever?
I'm not doing that.
Unless there's a game on it, I would not even search it out.
Okay, here's another one. There are going to be over 50-plus West Virginia legendary players at the game. Major Harris, Geno Smith, Darryl Talley, Pat McAfee, Stedman Bailey, among others as well, according to S. Michael DeHart.
Who's the biggest star probably out of that entire group? McAfee at this point?
Might be. Worth millions.
I know Pac-Man Jones, worth hundreds of millions. Pac-Man Jones did their voiceover for their really cool, hype video. It's hype video season once again. So it was interesting to hear Pac-Man voicing that over. So, there's a lot of nostalgia. There's a lot of history, and there's a lot of just excitement for this game tonight. And, I'm looking at it from just a college football fan perspective, but then also a Big 12 perspective. From a Big 12 perspective, I'd like to see West Virginia win. I think it'd be good for the conference, obviously. Even, with them as slight underdogs as well. It'd be a nice, little surprise to start the season, although I don't think too much of a surprise. But, this would just be a big win program-wise for West Virginia, and it's got the makings of everything that just a casual college football fan who didn't go to either school, or not casual, but, a college football fan who didn't go to either school. You take the Big 12 part of the equation. This is a game I'm watching no matter what, because hey, you got me. You hook, line, and sinker with that hype video and with the history and with all the talk about how long it's been since they played, and then throwing all the little variables I've already mentioned on the Pitt side and on the West Virginia side, all those little questions that everybody has. I mean, it's got the makings of being a really fun night. It does, and it's just it's the only game that we're really bogging down on a little bit. But there's going to be a bunch more games as well. So. Man, I'm excited. I can't wait.
We get to talk about him. Max Olson covers college football. He now is a part of a group with the Big 12, kind of a forum, so to speak, with other members of the media and others as well. We'll have Max on next. And then Dr. Jerry Lynch on Dave Aranda, who he helped 20-something years ago. When Dave Aranda told me, he basically told the story to Dave Wilson. He had basically no money, but found a way to go visit Dr. Lynch. And, of course, since that time, he's used a lot of what he learned and a lot of what Dr. Lynch has written in his philosophy as a human, as a man, and also as a coach. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Yesterday morning, bright and early, went to Stonewood Dental and met with Dr. Steve Childress, who's my dentist. I've told you the journey about my dental work, which I let go for too long, and now there's some things that start to come back, and it really has been doing that. Well, it's not just the fact that I need a root canal here or something there. My two front teeth just a little bit to the right, I had to get implants, and I got them, and everything went incredibly smooth. Dr. Childress is the one that said, David, you have to take care of that. And so, yeah, it cost some money. Dr. Scott Warren was amazing and really helped me with all of that, and I have him in. And so yesterday morning, I went to see Dr. Childress, who's going to put in the crowns, and had the impressions made. And he talked a little bit about my dental work and some things I need to do down the road as well. He loves this show. He's a sponsor of this show, and he's a great dentist, as his staff is as well, throughout the time you walk through the front door until you walk out. Stonewood Dental in Robinson, Texas.
Looking for a great job with great pay and awesome benefits? Genco FCU is hiring. As a longtime Waco employer, Genco focuses on what matters most in our employees' lives, like pay incentives, bonuses, benefits, 401k plans, paid time off, advancement opportunities, medical, prescription, dental, and vision insurance, as well as short and long-term disability. Come join our incredible team today and make Genco your career that will work for you. Apply at gencofcu.org or at any branch location.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be part of the Waco community. We're a small family business here in Central Texas. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important. And unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. And that's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through this difficult time. So if you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. You can schedule online in minutes at idealmri.com or call 833-IDEAL-MRI.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel and Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel and Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel and Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Max Olson of The Athletic. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus. And best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects. With 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Let's get straight to it. Max Olson with us. Thank you, Max Olson. TheAthletic.com joins us here a little bit earlier today. Max, the college football playoff note that came out yesterday, there was a lot of talk about ESPN, Fox, Big 12, and all that, but that to me was such a big deal. Did that surprise you that they're going to revisit that so quickly?
Guys, come on.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you very much.
It never ends, right?
Yeah.
It never ends. I mean, off season's never over. No, yeah, it surprised me. I think we've talked plenty of times in my appearances on here about just what is going on with this playoff expansion stuff, and yeah, it surprised me that they're willing to come back to the table here, and you know, it sounds like if they vote for this, like they leave it to the commissioners to figure out what it looks like. I mean, I've always been on the side of liking the 12-team setup that, you know, Bob Bowlesby and others came up with and put out there last year. Maybe things have kind of stabilized a tiny bit, that they feel like they can do this now. But I mean, it is interesting that we may be locking in a new format for the playoffs, even as expansion still going on and realignment still going on.
Do you think they are serious this time?
That's a good way to put it. Hard to guess with these guys. It is, but yeah, no, it sounds like. I don't know. It sounds like the group president that has some say in these things wants to actually get back to the table on it. Obviously, Brett Yormark's a new piece to that puzzle too, and interested in how he kind of fits in here. But look, guys, I think part of this that does matter to people, and all of this is interconnected, is if you are reading all this stuff about how the SEC and the Big Ten are going to be making more money than anybody else. Obviously, part of that is TV deals, but then part of that is you can make money if you have more access to the playoffs. And so if there's more spots, there's more money to be spread around to these other leagues. And I think the cut you're getting off the playoff money is important, and something that's something that the Big 12, the Pac-12, the ACC need to care about in terms of, what can we do to maximize that revenue as well.
Max, the return of the backyard brawl tonight. A lot of storylines in this one. Pitt lost a lot. West Virginia lost a lot, but both teams also gained a bit in the offseason. Storylines galore and the return of a rivalry. Yep. What are your thoughts on Pitt and Dub V tonight getting underway?
Yeah, I love that it's back. I've looked at the schedule, and these guys are going to play 8 of the next 11 seasons, which I think is terrific because, as of today, you guys know, it's like, when are we going to see Bedlam again, right? Like some of these rivalries that are being affected right now, you just don't know when you're going to be able to get them on the plate again. So I'm glad these guys are playing again. I think it's going to be a close game. I do. It's hard to tell on both sides what these teams are really going to look like because there's just a lot new for Pitt, but there's high expectations for them. And I think West Virginia, they really do feel like, JT Daniels is a guy that can really elevate what they have coming back. And so, I know the expectation at West Virginia is this is a pretty big year. This is a year where they need to kind of take that step and win 7-8 games. And this would be a huge one for them in terms of getting things off on the right foot here. And, it's going to look a little different with Graham Harrell and having Daniel sling it around. But I do think it's going to be a pretty close game.
I love rivalries. I love tradition. I do agree with you that there's some that we don't know if they'll play again for a long, long time, and some have been interrupted, and some might be rejuvenated here very, very soon. What are your thoughts about Oklahoma State? They play Central Michigan tonight, but obviously a great run last year. Not quite as good as they wanted at the end, but a very, very nice run. Your thoughts about how they follow that up?
Yeah, it's going to look a little bit different on defense, obviously, with Derek Mason taking it over and just with all of the guys that either went off to the NFL or moved on to other schools. That defense obviously carried them last year and put them in the Big 12 title game and inches away from a Big 12 title. And I think it's a little bit flipped this year. I think Spencer Sanders and the offense needs to carry them this year while they kind of figure out what they've got on defense. The pass rush is going to be terrific, I think, with Colin Oliver and all the guys that they can rotate in there, that they can get after the quarterback. So I don't think the defense is going to be bad necessarily, but I think there's a lot more in Spencer Sanders' play. It's a young group of receivers. They need to find a new guy at running back. And this is going to be a nice first test. They've had some close, kind of struggling kind of games in non-conference play the last 2 years. This is a chance for them for Spencer Sanders to really show he's ready to take a big step in his career this year and be the best quarterback in the Big 12.
Max, is there a team in the Big 12 that you have your trouble putting your finger on how they're going to be the most?
Yeah, I think that's a good question. I think I'm high on Oklahoma, but I just think they're a little bit funky this year, where it's hard to tell kind of how high the ceiling is and how high the floor is with that team. I think on paper you love the pieces they're working with. I think Brent Venables is going to kind of figure it out with what he's got on defense, but I think that's one it's hard to pin down. Like, are they a top 10 kind of team, or are they maybe this is more of a top 25 kind of a build it up kind of year one for those guys. I think that there's a couple teams in the Big 12. Like, I think TCU's one for sure, where I think if everything goes right, like, I think they've got a bowl team for sure, and one that could probably pull some good upsets this year. And then if a couple things don't go right with them, then it could be a little bit more turbulent year, just because that's a big change from where they were at with Gary Patterson. And do you have the depth you need? I think there's a bunch of teams in this conference race where you say, like, if just a couple little things go wrong, maybe you don't have a bowl team. But I think TCU's one for sure that if it's all right, like, I really like some of the players they've got, but same thing as OU, you're going to be working through some stuff in year one that you just kind of can't anticipate.
Max, I think everybody's treating this as the proper week one, but there were some games last weekend, and one in particular out in Ireland that I know people on this show.
I watched that game.
Yeah, we're very focused in on your thoughts on Northwestern and Nebraska and how that all unfolded last weekend.
Yeah. Have you talked about this one a little bit this week, Smokey?
Yeah, just a little bit.
I'm numb to it, Max. I'm numb.
You're numb to it.
I'm numb to it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it was fascinating. I think you saw some good things. You saw some good things offensively in terms of, they imported a lot of new players, and I think they're going to have some playmaking ability and ability to score some points. But the thing is, like, you couldn't have really drawn up a game that would be any worse for Scott Frost than that. I mean, honestly, just all the things, whether it's the onside kick, whether it's that they were just, kind of manhandled there in the fourth quarter and the third quarter late in that game by a much more physical team that just knew how to run the ball and handle them. If the comments he made after the game and since then, just all the people that, the thousands and thousands of fans that traveled to Dublin and have that heartbreak, and a game that ends the same way as a lot of games last year, even though you changed all these pieces and changed the quarterback and everything. So it's I've just noticed this week, I think people are a lot more clear-eyed on Scott Frost and feeling like if you're a pro Frost guy and you felt like he's going to figure it out, I'm not sure you saw a lot of evidence in this first game that told you that anything's any different.
No, everything that has been a problem for 5 years showed up in some way in that game.
Should there be a bet, Matt, how many days after October 1st Scott Frost still has that job?
They've got. If you look at the schedule, they've got a game against Purdue, and we're going to see Purdue tonight. We're going to see how good they are. I think that's probably a loss if you're just looking at Nebraska right now. But they've got a bye week after they play Purdue, and that would probably be the moment, depending on the record at that point, when you're probably starting to hear some of those conversations. But yeah, they've got 2 easy games to rally here a little bit. and the OU game will be huge. But I think you've seen that just that one game, man. A lot of people turned on Scott Frost around here.
All right, I know you got to go. Best game of the weekend: Oregon at Georgia, Notre Dame at Ohio State, Cincinnati at Arkansas, Utah at Florida, and maybe even Houston at UTSA.
Yeah, I love it. Cincinnati, Arkansas, I'm really excited to see that's such a huge moment for Cincinnati to really prove their legitimacy and prove that they can play with Power 5 programs. So I think that opportunity is great. But, yeah, between the Freeman debut and the Knowles debut at Ohio State in that game, that's terrific. And then, Oregon's just one of those teams we haven't really talked a lot about this offseason. We don't really know what they're working with other than bringing in Bo Nix and changing the roster a little bit. So can they put up a fight with Georgia at all? Like, it's a pretty good slate. I'm excited for this. And like I said at the start, hopefully the news cycle slows down and lets us really sink our teeth into this here for the next few weeks.
That's what we can't wait for. Thank you, Max. Appreciate your time as always.
Thanks, guys.
And coming on with us a little bit early, Max Olson, theathletic.com. And right, we have discussed Oregon. We've had James Crepea on, and we discussed more about the future of the conferences and stuff like that with him. But he's going to come on with us. I think he's going to be on with Craig and Grayson tomorrow to discuss Oregon. But they have been, where some teams have gotten more attention, they have been kind of out of that. And with Dan, obviously we've discussed Dan Lanning. Chip Towers from Atlanta Journal-Constitution gave us some great stuff about him. And who knows, man? What a great start for him if he can go into Georgia and pop a win against his former team that he helped win a national championship. I don't see that's happening, but that'd be a hell of a start for him.
Yeah, I just don't. I think it's not being talked about because I don't think anybody believes it'll happen. I think that's why. I think if there was a legitimate shot, even it being the first weekend craziness and all that, then people would be all over upset special and talking it up more. But I don't think there's a lot of hope for the Ducks to win that game. And so, I think that's probably where it comes from. But, yeah, they're an interesting team. I think, too, just not only being overshadowed by just the opponent in week one, I think, yeah, they're overshadowed by realignment. They're overshadowed by USC. And, they're overshadowed by some things that have nothing to do with the game. But, yeah, they certainly be a program that if they go on a little run to start the season, we'll hear the noise grow and the love for Dan Lanning grow. But, how that takes shape is the big question.
Yeah, one of the things I think is funny, and this is just – look, Bo Nix could start the game and beat Georgia for the first time. But if I was, lining up a team to beat Georgia, some of the things I would do would be okay, let's get their best assistant coach. Got him. Okay. Plan A, check. Okay, plan B, let's get a transfer quarterback in here who's familiar with him. All right, check. Plan C, let's make sure that guy is beating them. Ah, crap.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but they are interesting. I mean, for the reasons mentioned, I think that'll be a fun program to kind of follow through along the way. And yeah, we'll learn a good deal about them. And you know what, they could get destroyed, and that doesn't necessarily mean anything just because of the expectations for Georgia are so high, right? But yeah, that'll be a great first game, the barometer, so to speak. To give us a little info on both. But, yeah, there's plenty of interesting storylines up there. I just think there's a lot of others that are, blocking out the actual football talk.
Yeah, and of course, some of those games we'll be starting our pregame on Saturday at 4. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
4?
Yes.
4 o'clock is our pregame. That game with Houston and UTSA, Cincinnati, Alabama are 2:30 kickoffs. Georgia's a 2:30 kickoff as well against Oregon. So a lot of meat and potatoes, so to speak, will be going on in the middle of that afternoon. Ole Miss, South Florida, Gary Bohannon's debut against Brigham Young. Obviously, we watched that for a couple of different reasons at 3 o'clock as well that night. Utah-Florida's a night game at 6 o'clock. And, of course, that game is in Gainesville. So Alabama, Ohio State and Alabama play late, 6:30. Notre Dame at Ohio State. I don't know of anybody who's giving Notre Dame a chance to win that game. They're fifth in the country, and yet there seems like there's such a separation between Alabama, Georgia, and Ohio State, although Ohio State took that early hickey last year when they were beaten up by Oregon in the opening game. All right, when we come back, a lot more to get to. In fact, there's a couple of other stories we want to get to in college football. There's also a note about former Baylor head coach Guy Morris we want to share with you. Sick on 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Boozer's Jewelers. I got engaged on July 10th of this year, and it was a fantastic moment. It was a beautiful moment, and it wouldn't have happened had I not made the excellent decision to walk into Boozers and go up to Brad and say, Brad, I need your help. I need to get an engagement ring, and I need it to be unique and special and exactly what my fiance or my fiance-to-be at that time wants. Well, it was great. The whole process took about 3 weeks, and I actually went in a little earlier. He goes, yeah, this will take about 3 weeks. Come back in a couple weeks, and we'll get it on the docket and go. And it was so simple. The ring is so unbelievably beautiful. They did an absolutely great job. I get credit for it all the time. They said, Paul, you did a great job with the ring. I didn't do anything but walk in and give Brad my money. That's all I did. And I made the decision to go there, and it was worth it because they did an outstanding job. She loves the ring. Everyone loves the ring. It is absolutely beautiful. 9 out of 10 of their rings that they do for engagements are made in-house. So if you're looking for that one-of-a-kind engagement ring for your one-of-a-kind fiance, look no further than the Wedding Ring Store, Boozers Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive.
At Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? During the Labor Day sales event at Allen Samuels, purchase a new 2022 Ram 1500 Crew Cab Lone Star and receive values up to $7,000, or choose 2.9% for 72 months and get $2,500 bonus cash and no payments for 90 days. Shop with us today. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Come by. Let's be friends.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
It's summertime. There's picnics, reunions, cookouts, and so much to do. And Waco Custom Marketplace on Lake Air Drive in Waco is your home for the butcher shop that can help you with beef, pork, poultry, and seafood. They are spectacular at being able to deliver you whatever cut of steak you want. Bone-in ribeye, however thick you want it, that's great. They'll do it. Sirloin, T-bone, porterhouse, bacon-wrapped filet. And, of course, as I mentioned, they have pork, poultry, and seafood. Their Norwegian salmon is spectacular. Also, all of the sauces and seasonings you'll ever need, all the ingredients you'll ever need to make sure you have that perfect, flawless taste. So it's delicious whenever you take something off the grill. And a full-fledged bakery as well, with fresh baked bread and kolaches every single day. Up and down the aisle of Waco Custom Marketplace, you also have what you need, from knickknacks to snacks to more, at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco, Waco Custom Marketplace.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
National Football Foundation celebrating their 75th year. Here are some notes and nuggets. There are 15,800 plus high schools in the United States that have football teams. 7.8% of high school football players will play college football. At whatever level. At every level you could imagine. Now, there are 774 colleges and or universities playing whatever level you want football. 0.41% of college football players made an opening roster in the NFL. Less than 1% of those. 3.3 years remains as about the normal average of an NFL career. 3.3 years. And then you think about what Brady's done or Favre did or others that are playing. It's pretty crazy. Here's one that I thought was interesting.
That's the 0.3, throwing it off.
Yeah, the 0.3.
Yeah.
81% football bowl subdivision student athletes graduated. 81% graduation success rate. 68% graduation rate of the general student body of Division I schools. So the football players had a higher graduation rate, a pretty higher, much higher graduation rate than the regular general student body.
Wow, and that to me is for one big reason. They have more resources available to them easily than the student body, plus
there are also more reasons for them to pass.
Yeah, there's people with vested in, like nobody's going to get fired because I fail out of school if I'm a regular student, but if my top recruit can't get through and then I don't win because I can't keep guys on the roster because of their grades, then I'm going to get fired.
We have said a lot about the transfer portal. I don't have this stat. I don't have it. But obviously there's been a lot of talk the last couple of years because of the transfer portal, and especially when it comes to athletic student athletes. What would, off the top of your head, what do you think the transfer portal's like for just the regular student body?
I mean, it's pretty easy.
They drop out.
It's not a portal, really.
Yeah.
You just go wherever you want to.
But I wonder how many of the percentage of the regular student body. For example, I went from a junior college, graduated, went to a 4-year school, graduated. But how many? I would think that number's massive of students who drop out that or just leave, and they end up going somewhere else to try to reestablish their degree.
Well, I can just tell you, my sophomore year when I was an RA. From move-in day to about the 6th week of school, the transfer portal for regular dumbass freshman kids gets pretty damn full. I mean, you see a lot of kids having their parents come back up because they, for whatever reason, didn't like it where they were. So, and that was 24 years ago.
You think it's gotten better or worse?
Oh, sure, it's gotten worse.
No, I mean, like, it's college. Like, hundreds of kids transfer from schools all the time. I guess it's unique that, we make such a big deal about it, about student athletes. But, like, if you're just some kid, we don't announce Mark Smith entering the transfer portal, the econ major who's in his freshman year. Like, I mean, who cares, right? I mean, there's no coverage of that because there's no reason for coverage of that. But, yeah, there's hundreds of kids. I guess to loop it back around, yeah, we probably make too much of a wide receiver at Temple that wants to transfer after his freshman year, and we bag on him because he's scared of playing time or scared of competition when he's just like, Karen from Pittsburgh, who's a freshman at James Madison who now wants to go to a bigger school. Like, it's not a big deal in the long run, but, yeah, there's a little bit more personal investment when you have recruited a guy and you've, had them on visits and you've, in your mind, imagine how they fit into the puzzle and the missing pieces that they add to your championship aspirations. So it's a massive difference in the way the students are viewed because there's a massive difference in how they're, known, talked about, covered, and inserted into the conversation. So, yeah, there's thousands and thousands of transfers every year, but we only pay attention to the football ones and to lesser extents the sports ones. Probably because we're a sports show, and probably because it's highly publicized versus the regular students that there's no reason to really report on.
Yeah, you're right. It happens all the time. But you see the athletes in the limelight. You see the money that is earned in various sports, especially in television, especially in football. and also in men's basketball. Here's a note about tonight's Oklahoma State game with Central Michigan. Wet blanket. I'm ready for the Derek Mason debut as their defensive coordinator at Oklahoma State because they lost theirs to Ohio State.
Yeah, me too. That ought to be exciting. Derek Mason was a great hire and about as good as you think that Mike Gundy could have done given the circumstances. But, Jim Knowles at Ohio State now will be a fascinating, test for them to see if that's what puts them over the top and makes them perhaps, one of the great teams that we've seen in recent memory, because there are those expectations for Ohio State, but they still have to answer that defensive question, and that's why Jim Knowles is there. But Oak State, I expect that they'll still be strong defensively, and Derek Mason's a very good coach, so I'm excited to see how they do starting tonight.
Texas Buckeye on the transfer thing, students pay their way.
Yeah, it's not even a comparison. It's really kind of simple.
Well, it was a stat on the NFF notes piece. Donnell Johnson, I know a college student who transferred 5 times, still hasn't graduated. Donnell, thanks for the time. We appreciate that.
Yeah, that's a stunning lack of commitment. And the same time, a stunning commitment that I'm going to keep going to school. Yep. I'm just going to go to all of them before I actually graduate. That's the best of both worlds, I guess, or worst of both worlds. I don't know.
Yeah, and by the way, there are people who own big, massive companies that never graduated, in some cases from college or went to college or got a degree from college, and some probably even may have dropped out of high school. You have those stories. I mean, maybe it helps the odds in the end, but here's one of the other notes. And the story about yesterday that got overlooked, we mentioned it, and we mentioned it with Max as well about the college football playoff. If that happens, if that happens, if they agree, if they unanimously agree, and it starts a couple of years earlier than we thought it would, doesn't that also calm everything down about the Super 2? Doesn't that also give Oregon State, Washington State, or whoever else belief that things are going to be okay or not?
You like to think so. I mean, I think it would, but I mean, there is a school of thought, like we heard James Crepea saying, like there's no reason to think that they wouldn't also like unilaterally try to change that. But no, for just reasonable nature of making this work and not eliminating 80% of the country from being interested in the college football playoff, they need all those conferences. And look, it will make it better and more interesting to G5 teams, the fact that they have at least an outside chance to do something now, and there's a path, as opposed to all the voodoo that Cincinnati apparently had to do to get there last year, is not lose, and then not only not lose, but not have a game where they almost lost. Like they had to be perfect all year long to get there. So if that is taken out of the equation, that'll be better for everybody. But yeah, I think it would calm a lot of things down, but I don't think it stops the Big Ten or anybody from doing what they want to do eventually.
David M., according to the two guests you had on yesterday, everything's going to be okay. And we also mentioned the Burke Magnus conversation on Sports Business Journal, where he almost immediately said he doesn't think that's going to happen. He goes, I don't see that happening. I don't think that's going to happen. Again, what it does, and isn't that why, is realignment interesting, not because of how much teams make per year? Isn't it interesting because there is the concern that it could leave people out of the big picture? Is that why it draws so much interest?
Well, I think fear. Yeah, you mean fear that your team's
fear that you're left out.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think for the fear of like, I hope it's not my team. I mean, it's happened here a couple times in Waco where they don't know what the path forward is going to be, so that they think like, well, there's a scenario where this could be a really good team that no one cares about, and that has to play in some mid-tier bowl game because that they've been left out of the mix. But so I think that's part of it. Or people want to state why they should be somewhere. Look, just look at Utah fans that we've had here saying that they should be in the SEC if they're anywhere else. I mean, those kind of things. It's the braggadocious nature of college football, and saying you deserve to be in a bigger spot than someone else is the ultimate, part of that.
All right, it's 3:57. Dr. Jerry Lynch, psychologist, author, someone that got to know Dave Aranda a long time ago when Aranda was trying to build his career to where it is now as the head coach at Baylor. He's next on Sikkim 365 Radio and also 365 Sports. DiscoverWoodway.com. It's still not too late for you to get involved in the Wine Fest featuring Jacko Pierce coming up in September. Just around the corner with today the 1st, September the 9th, 6 until 9:30, Woodway's Wine Fest featuring Jacko Pierce. Tickets are still available at $35 a piece. Doors open at 6. Wine tasting begins at that time. Jacko Pierce concert begins at 8. Enjoy the wine tasting at the annual Woodway Wine Fest featuring Jacko Pierce. Go to discoverwoodway.com for more information and for tickets. $35 a piece. I'm on the link right now. The Woodway Wine Fest at the bottom. You can have a link to buy tickets. $35 a piece. September 9th, it's the Woodway Wine Fest featuring Jacko Pierce at the Arboretum in Woodway.
1, 2.
I'm in love with a man named Rudy. I'm okay with that. He knows exactly what I want. He keeps me coming back. He cooks breakfast, lunch, and dinner for me. Does the dishes too. I'm in love with a man named Rudy. Last name Barbecue. It sure is easy to fall in love with Rudy's tasty oak smoked barbecue.
Next in line.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year. Whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter, Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Corral pumps. Pressure again, and they get to him. That was Cole Maxwell.
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
Everyday champion wisdom, mindful lessons in mastery for coaching, competing, and cohesive teams. Jerry Lynch, Dr. Jerry Lynch. Forward by Dave Aranda, who wrote about the time he reached out to Jerry Lynch back many years ago when he was a GA at Texas Tech and how he helped form a lot of what Dave Aranda teaches and uses today. Dr. Lynch joins us with Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak on 365 Sports. Dr. Lynch, thanks for your time. How proud are you of what you see from him right now, or really no matter when, but especially with the attention he's getting now?
Well, I'll tell you, Dave, thanks for inviting me on your show. I'm honored, and it's a pleasure to be able to talk about someone that's so extraordinary as Dave Aranda, for sure. But Dave is a remarkable man. The coaching just happens to be the way he expresses it. You know, he's just a matter of a man who takes who he is, and he doesn't let go, and he just makes sure that he stays with himself, and that's his greatness right there.
How, of the people you've met who are philosophers when it comes to coaching, and I think that's a good way to kind of describe him, how unique is he? Because, we're in the, we meet coaches all the time, and I can't think of one that falls into a similar category as Dave Aranda.
Well, that's a good point. And I would say to your question, there aren't like a ton of coaches like that. But I've been at this business for over 40 years. I've been with over 400 teams. And no matter who the coach is, they might not be as glaringly responsive to the idea or philosophy, and they wouldn't go and admit that they were. But when you listen to some of their talking with the team, it's amazing how much they use metaphor and how much they use the teachings of people from the past. But more updated on that, I've been real fortunate. I've had the opportunity and privilege and honor of working with directly or indirectly with people like Steve Kerr or Phil Jackson or Anthony Dorrance from Carolina. These are all people who speak the language that Dave speaks. Maybe not in the same tone or in the same mannerisms, but basically in their heart of hearts, they all feel that there's something bigger to sports than just the game itself. And they realize that the importance of relationships and building a good culture. But more importantly than anything, they realize how important it is to be themselves. And Dave would say that in a heartbeat. Steve Kerr would say that in a heartbeat, So I don't see it too often, but often enough.
How amazing has that difference been for someone like yourself who's known him for so long to seeing, especially over the past year, when they went from that really rocky first season in Waco and COVID and everything that was going on, and he was, meek and shy, and he still is a reserved person ultimately, but he knew that he had to break out of that shell and expose more of himself. He's done that and done that successfully. It's got to be really difficult, but how much of a jump is that from the young man that you first met?
Well, honestly, Dave, to be honest, it's not much different. I met him as a young man. I think he was 23 years old, a graduate assistant, as you pointed out. And he comes to visit me up in my home in Santa Cruz, and we walk on the beach, and I'm listening to this guy. I don't usually spend time with people unless they have something to offer and they're good people. He checked all the boxes for me, and I knew right then. And I'm not a prognosticator. I'm not going to predict, but I'm not surprised. This doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, I would expect that his success continues because of the way he is and how he's being, not so much what he's doing. Anyone can go online and get all kinds of strategies and a playbook and this and that. You can talk to people like Pete Carroll with the Seattle Seahawks, and you can get everything that he does, and he'll tell you that. But, the magic ingredient, as Pete Carroll would say, is can you develop relationships with people where they feel safe enough and they feel good enough about themselves where they'll go out day in and day out, and on every Saturday when a football game comes, that they're going to execute everything you've asked them to do and go the distance. So it's not, I have 115, maybe 116 championship teams that were crown champions. Every one of those coaches had these qualities. So it's saying something about how much Dave can get out of somebody when you're being real, when you're being a real person, genuine, authentic, vulnerable, caring, compassionate. All these things are what Dave is all about. And if no one sees that, they're not going to understand why he's so successful on the scoreboard. And he'll continue to be that way. And these young people, look, there are not many role models out there of good leadership. When they find someone's genuine and authentic, what are they going to do? They're going to be attached to them like flies on honey, So I'm not surprised.
He wrote in his forward, Thinking Body, Dancing Mind. He mentioned that he called you out of the blue back in 2001. He was a GA at Tech, I think. I scheduled a visit with him with little money that I had as a graduate assistant. Not only did he reach out to you, but then he spent 3 days with you.
Yeah. I wish that was all me, but I happen to live in a beautiful place called Santa Cruz. And I think that the beach and the ocean and the mountains that surround us and the farmland and the smell of strawberries when the wind blows correctly, I think that had a lot to do with it. But if you want to give me credit, I'll take an inch of it, But yeah, no, when you meet a kindred spirit and they're speaking the language of truth and they're speaking the language of connection, caring, love, this is important, and that's my work. And so I wanted to do all I could in the time that we had to encourage him and to nudge him in that direction and keep going. And to his credit, he's been doing that all this time. So yeah, he read Thinking Body, Dancing Mind, and that just jumped off the page and hit him between the eyes. It happens to be my bestseller in 13 languages after 30 years of being published. And so it said something to him as it does to so many people who still love that way of looking at things, which is very different than most people.
How often have you run across coaches that don't understand your philosophy, at least not right off the bat?
Oh, tons. I mean, it's just, okay, so it's one thing not to understand. I'm here to teach. So if you don't understand, but you're open, you have an open heart, and you want to learn. And why wouldn't you want to learn? Because I'm talking about people that I've influenced, like a Steve Kerr from the Warriors. Everyone wants to know, what is it about that? So people are real curious as to what I'm doing. And when they're curious, they're going to find out and they're going to learn. Now, to your point, there's a whole body of people out there that I haven't reached and maybe never will. They got all the answers. They know what to do, and they're not interested in finding out why other people can be more successful. I'm not going to reach them. And you know what? It doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is the people who want to grow, who want to change, who want to be the best version of themselves. Those are the people that will come to me, and I'll go the distance, and I'll do everything I can to help them. And I will not let money stand in the way. I tell people all the time, I'm not about making a living. I'm about making a difference. If I can make a difference in your life, Dave, I'm all over it. And so I tend to attract people who are growth-minded. They have a growth mindset. They're open. They're ready to move forward, just like Dave was when he came to me as a 22-year-old, 23-year-old young man. And look at him now.
Can you tell if they're open-minded? Can you tell if they're really willing to listen?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you could, too. That's not something that I specialize in. You can. You know, even talking to me right now, you can tell if I'm interested in learning. You could tell if I'm interested in knowing what you know. Yeah, we have radar. We can detect whether people are open. And if they're not open, that doesn't shut me down. You see, if they're not open, then what that says to me is, what can I do to create an environment which would allow them to be more open? You see? Mm-hmm. Because I really do believe, if we're all being honest, raise your hand if you want to be more like Steve Kerr or Phil Jackson or Dave Aranda. And all the hands are going to go up in the audience. But the thing is, they don't know how to get there. So maybe they're closed-minded or they seem that way. So my job is to take someone who's not open to change and create the environment which will allow them to relax and be open and not feel like they're going to fail or I'll be critical or anything like that. And that comes from having a nice conversation and being genuine myself. And we all want to be around people who are themselves and who are kind and genuine and authentic and open. So, yeah, it's you don't need to have a degree in psychology to figure out whether someone's open or not. And I know you can do that, Dave.
Thank you. Phil, again, Jerry West, Dr. Jerry Lynch is with us, Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak with us on Sikkim 365 Radio. You mentioned, and I've seen where Zen, Tao, when we first got a chance to really see Dave Aranda with who he was maybe when they started having success last year, because the COVID year was such a mess and a new coaching staff coming in town. It was so hard.
Yeah.
And I used one time, and others have used different ways, like Jedi. Is that something that is from your teaching, or is that fair to say that? Call him like Jedi in any way?
Well, you could. That's up to you. If that makes you feel better and it makes it definitive and helps you to understand him better, by all means. There are all kinds of names that we come up with and all kinds of reference points to people who we admire. Let's call him Jedi.
Paula asked the question on the chat room, how do you define success based on your approach in working with people?
Well, success, I don't look at a scoreboard for success, because even though I have 115 championship teams that were crowned champions, I also had 367 teams that never saw a championship game. But I consider them successful. And success to me goes along with the title of one of my books. One of my books is called Win the Day. And win the day creates success on a daily basis. And the way you win the day is stop trying to control the outcomes, for Pete's sake. You can't control how you're going to win the game, but you can show up to win the day, which means do all the little things brilliantly rather than the big things marginally. So what you want to do is, you and I, Dave, the two of us, and your audience there, what we want to do is, what can we control in life? We get out of bed in the morning. We control being grateful. We control where we're going to focus on, what we're going to focus on. If you're focusing in on being pessimistic and being miserable, guess what's going to happen? You're going to go down that road, because all feelings equal how we function. But if you're optimistic and you're feeling really fearless and you're feeling really prepared, well, that's the direction you're going to go as well. So to your point, I really do believe that we can take charge. And the idea, the reason why I wrote that book, and Steve Kerr is on the cover, he gave me an amazing, rich endorsement for that book, because he uses that philosophy with his warrior culture, is called Win the Day. And we win the day by looking at the top 10 things that we can control as we go forward in the day. And when we do that and take care of it, we put our head on the pillow at night and we say, that was a pretty good day. I won the day. And then you get on to the next day and day after and day after and day after. When you put this philosophy in with the team, the coach walks into the locker room and said, okay, guys or girls, what are we going to do? How are we going to win the day today? What are the things we need to focus in on? Okay, so A, we need to focus in on our work ethic. Number 2 is we need to focus in on all the things we can control, like sprinting your lanes and boxing out and crashing the boards and playing in-your-face defense. What else can you control? I can control my attitude. I'm going to bring a positive attitude. What else can you control? I'm going to be compassionate. I'm going to be enthusiastic. I'm going to be giving to my team and be selfless. Notice what I'm saying here. These are all concepts of how to be, not what to do. Because the last time I looked, we're human beings, I think, not human doings. And so what I do is I help people really be successful all the time. And they feel good about themselves. When you feel successful and you feel good about yourself, your performances are going to reflect that. It might not be a championship, but it will be the best version of yourself.
What was the genesis of you moving into the sports realm and doing that in your career?
Well, that's a great question. And I'm so happy you asked that because many people overlook it. And it's pivotal because without that question answered, I'm not doing what I'm doing and I'm not who I am. Dave, honestly, I love sports, bottom line. But, the thing that really fires my passion and the thing that really gets me going is the belief, the deep-held belief that a sport experience can empower people more than anything else in life. And when I see that's true, and I believe in that, it's remarkable because what I try to do is I try to help people by sharing my experiences as an athlete, my experiences as a champion, as a person who's worked with champions, and enable them to be empowered. And I can't think of anything else in life that so quickly and so deeply empowers a human being than the sport experience itself. So, why would I want to go anywhere else, right? And loving sports didn't hurt at all.
Did he at all contact or lean on you during the COVID year?
I can't remember the last time we had a conversation. I don't think we talked during that year, to be honest with you. I think a couple of years before that we had communication. Mm-hmm. It's not like Dave and I are on the phone all the time.
Right.
It's not, but when we talk, it's pretty deep and it's pretty all-encompassing. I can't remember if we talked during the 2020 or whenever it was, and then I reached out to him because I knew how busy he was, and I invited him to be a guest on my podcast, which I have every week, Way of Champions podcast. And without a glitch, I mean, he just, definitely, I'm there, count me in. And then I proceeded to invite him in 2022 as a guest speaker and presenter at my International Leadership Coaching Summit that I do every summer. And he was one of the guests along with Steve Kerr and several other luminaries.
Do you feel like that a lot of people look at the personalities of coaches and, a lot of times like heavy personalities, loud, it doesn't mean that they're braggadocious, but it just kind of seems like sometimes there's this feeling of what a coach looks like. And yet he has discussed Tony Dungy. I brought up Lovie Smith, who reminds me a lot, his personality of the same. Tom Landry, of course, was very much a very quiet individual, the way he went about his business. Do you feel like that's why sometimes people not quite get Dave Aranda yet?
Well, people need to be educated. People who don't get Dave Aranda don't understand what it means to be a great coach. And the bottom line to being a great coach, and all the great ones that you admire and respect would agree with me, because I've worked with these people, they all agree that to be a great coach, you have to be yourself. I would never say, okay, I'm going to teach you how to be more like Dave Aranda. That's ridiculous. What I am going to do is I'm going to teach you, Dave, how to be more like yourself. And maybe we'll use some of the strategies and techniques that Dave Aranda uses. And if you're loud and you're boisterous and you have a very different style, that's what's going to win you games. That's what's going to win the love and the compassion and the connection with your athletes. That's what's going to do it. And then you can also have the strategies. I mean, we have to all learn how to communicate. We have to learn what it means to be open and selfless. And these are all great qualities of great leadership. And so we have to know that as a leader, the whole idea behind great leadership is not to be served, but to serve others. Mm-hmm. And when we come in with that attitude, and that's Dave's attitude. Dave's attitude is like, I'm here to serve these young men. I want to help them to become the best men they can be. And as a result, they'll be the best athletes they can be. And who wouldn't buy into that? And he's soft-spoken, and he's understated, and he's a philosophy major. But the bottom line is he's a human being, and he's doing the right things. And that's what great coaches do. I mean, I could give you a list of 10 coaches who walk into a locker room and their voice is so loud that it's piercing. But they get results because of who they are and how they're being. And that's the bottom line.
Because of that, is it easy then not to blow your gasket when something like things start to circle around you? Is there a way you can go into a certain zone that allows you to get through that without being a raving lunatic?
Well, okay, so let's look at this. It's never appropriate to be a raving lunatic. But I've seen the inside of a locker room with Steve Kerr. I've seen the inside of a locker room with some of these other great coaches that seem very calm and cool and collected on the outside. But then they go into the locker room and they get really fiery and passionate and they get loud and they start calling the guys out. But the only reason why they can do that is because they have already laid the foundation, a strong foundation of caring, connection, acceptance, love, integrity. These are the keys. You see what I'm saying?
Yep.
So if you're on my team, Dave, and I consider you part of my team, then what's going to happen is you're going to feel that foundation. I'm going to make that foundation first, and I'm going to make that strong. And then I could be tough. I could be strong. I could raise my voice. But the guys are going to listen because they know I love them. John Wooden said on the very last day of his career, when he was interviewed by I don't know how many hundreds of people in the gym, Paulie Pavilion, they asked him this simple question: why were you so successful? And of course, they expected him to come out with things like, well, I have the pyramid of success, and I follow that tooth and nail, and blah, 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 on and on. But he never said anything about that. His response was, the reason I was successful was I had a lot of love in my coaching. There it is. Say not another word. A lot of love in my coaching. Now, that doesn't mean he didn't yell or raise his voice or be tough. I mean, he just had a way. When Bill Walton one day walked into practice and he had a tie-dye shirt. Now, this is back, you got to understand, this is back in the 70s when everyone was wearing tie-dye shirts. But in the culture of UCLA basketball, that was not something that would be permitted. But Bill didn't understand that. So he walked in with a tie-dye shirt. And by the way, Bill's like so key to this team. Like without 6'11", Bill Walton, you don't go anywhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
And John Wooden looked at him and said, "Hey, Bill, you look pretty good in that shirt. And by the way, I have a question. Where are you going to play this fall?" And that was the end. That was the end of it. Bill came back later on in the afternoon with a different shirt, and he even put a tie on. I don't know if that's true or not. Maybe I'm making that up. But he came back later without the shirt on. He says, "Coach, I'm going to be playing here." And he says, "I'm glad you made that decision." So he was tough. He would have gotten rid of him. He would have said, "You're off the team." That's it. Now, that's pretty tough. That's tougher than a lot of people who go screaming and threatening that. He was like, "You're not going to play here." Great story, huh?
Yeah, it's a great story. And again, that can still work in today's America or today's society. It just all depends on how much you want to stick to what you believe in.
Well, you know what? The thing I like about you most right now is that you see the connection between what I'm saying in sports and life. And that's where it should go. Because in life, we all need that, right? We all need that kind of connection. We all need to be in an environment that's safe where we can try to fail and not be criticized for it. Because failure is our greatest teacher. And we need these kind of environments. And the leadership right now in the world today is lacking. And we need good leaders. And most of the good leaders that I find are in sports. And it's like, oh, well, maybe we get Steve Kerr for president. Maybe we get, let's see, you're down in Texas, right? What about San Antonio? Look at their leader, right? Gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah, we need all of these principles apply to life in general and specifically in sport.
Dr. Lynch, we appreciate it. Wayofchampions.com is a great website. He's written numerous books and obviously had an incredible influence on Dave Aranda and what we see from Dave Aranda through the tough first year to the exhilaration of last year and everything we see with him every day. Thanks for your time so much. We appreciate it. And what's the name of your podcast? Is it Way of Champions?
It's Way of Champions.
And I know you did like 5 or 6 of them earlier this week or last week. You're always doing one, right?
Well, I'm not only doing mine, but like this conversation on the phone, I get invited to many people's podcasts. They want me as a guest because like you want to hear what's going on there, So I get invited to a lot of those. And this particular period of time, it just seems like this morning I had a podcast from Way of Champions. It will be aired tomorrow. It was a fast turnaround. And, I love the work, and I just love making a difference. And fasten your seatbelt and go Bears, because you haven't seen anything yet.
Thank you, Dr. Lynch. Dr. Jerry Lynch, Everyday Champion Wisdom was the forward written by Dave Aranda. What he mentioned as far as what he has with his podcast as well. Wayofchampions.com and his influence on Dave Aranda, Baylor head coach. This is Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports.
Richard Carr, Buick GMC Cadillac, got a lot of great deals going on right now at Richard Carr. They are the people you can count on to get a great deal, to get great customer service, and to just have a great time trying to get yourself into a brand new vehicle. I've had to go over to Richard Carr because of a couple of different wrecks that I've been involved in. Neither one of them my fault. Debris kicked up, road rage incident in the other one. But that was the people that I counted on in a time of need to get my car fixed up, and I cannot compliment their customer service enough and the great job that Donnie and folks did over there. So if you are in the market for a new or used vehicle, don't wait any longer. They've got new and pre-owned cars and trucks arriving each week at the dealership. Come by or log on to richardcarr.com to view their in-stock inventory, or cut in line by getting your name on their inbound vehicle list to reserve a brand new Buick GMC or Cadillac before anyone else. But if you're not in the market for new, which is, again, get on that inbound vehicle list, your placeholder to get that new car, truck, or SUV when it arrives. But if you're looking to get into something today, you're looking at those pre-owned models, well, they have trucks and cars all over the lot that have gone under a 172-point inspection before ever hitting the lot, and you will get top dollar on your trade with dozens of lending options. Richard Carr says yes when others say no. Check them out. 23 years in Central Texas, a reputation as the people you can count on for your automotive needs, run by proud Wacoans, proud Baylor Bears. Log on to richardcarr.com. Call now or go see them now off Highway 6 at the Imperial exit.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Don Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
Cars priced right both day and night at Richard Carr in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue at Richard Carr in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room at Richard Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. Have Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Prescott on the keeper, walks in, touchdown, Dallas.
It's time for our weekly segment with Mickey Spagnola of DallasCowboys.com. Brought to you by the First National Bank of Central Texas, with 5 locations to serve you.
We'll be joined by Mickey Spagnola momentarily. Mickey Spagnola, DallasCowboys.com. There are some high school games tonight. We will have ours tomorrow in Odessa. Craig Smoak and Grayson Grundhafer. Craig brought this up. We'll be doing the show tomorrow. Paul and I will be in West Texas at one of the most famous high school football programs ever. They have not been quite the same, but of course, we're the greatness of Friday Night Lights and all of that. Mojo, Permian, and Midway, 2 teams who are trying to figure themselves out. We'll have that game tomorrow night on 106.7 FM, The Eagle, here on Sikkim 365 Radio. And hope you enjoy that if you want. We had some people watching our YouTube channel last year with the high school football broadcast as well. Until Mickey calls back, there's one thing they're trying to get done this week.
They're trying to find a left tackle or at least a backup tackle. And right now, apparently, Jason Peters is visiting the Cowboys. And he's 40 years old, but he's got a lot of experience. And that's kind of really what they need with Tyler Smith. So people are really hoping this happens. But, you got to wonder at 40 years old, no training camp, how much shape can he be in? But like John Machota told us yesterday, a lot of these guys like that are trying to avoid training camp and, just come in. They'll be in good enough shape and they can do what they do. And, I don't think he, by any stretch of the imagination, start the first game if they signed him this week. But even still, it's just going to be nice to have a veteran presence on an offensive line that is really dicey at this point. I mean, outside of Zach Martin, who is one of the top 3 best at his position, if not the best in the league, who do you feel good about that Cowboys offensive line? Terrence Steele's an undrafted free agent. Tyler Biotish is, best games, he's just okay. Connor McGovern is essentially a big fullback that's now playing guard. And Tyler Smith's a rookie. So, where's Dak Prescott's protection or the running lanes going to come from in that group? Zach Martin can't play all 5 positions.
No, he can't. And I always go back to what I said before. When you look at who they had, which, again, I'm not talking about was, 12 or 15 years ago. But when you had Tyron Smith and you had Travis Frederick and you had Zach Martin and you had Lyle Collins, who was basically a gift to you, and now you look up and it's almost all been torn apart with the freak health issue with Travis Frederick. Obviously, Collins is gone, and Tyron Smith now with the injuries that have mounted on him. And now they try to figure that out. Mickey Spagnola joins us. Craig Smoak, Paul Catalina, David Smoak, 365 Sports. Mickey, are they going to tie him up to some chair, Jason Peters, and not let him leave?
If they are tying him up, I think it's tonight because I don't think they got anything done yet. So tomorrow at the earliest, or maybe Monday if they decide to do something. I would imagine that they have to make sure they get the results of whatever physical they did on him today.
and then see where they go from there. My understanding is, though, if they do sign him, they're going to sign him to the practice squad. We're talking a man that's, I don't know, 330 pounds, offensive lineman that hasn't been with any team since the end of the season. So I would imagine he's going to need a couple of weeks of ramp up before they decide what to do with him.
Mickey, how much of Jason Peters would not just be at least some confident insurance in that here's a guy who'll know what to do and can be very serviceable for you? There's a lot of young guys on that offensive line that could use some guidance, especially Tyler Smith.
Yeah, and I think you used the right word. I think it's insurance because I think it's full go with Tyler Smith as your starting left tackle. And if he just falters miserably, well, then if you did this, you would have an alternative. But here's something to think about. What if he's a better guard than Connor McGovern? Because we saw Connor McGovern last year at guard, right?
Yeah.
And they saw enough of him to put Connor Williams back in there. And if you listen to Mike McCarthy last week, when he talked about Connor McGovern, he talked about him saying, if this guy played 10 to 12 plays a game at fullback, everybody would think differently of him. And he can also be our big tight end. A big tackle if we go heavy, and can play the tight end position. So to me, he's the guy that I think they would have rathered if Tyler Smith could have played the guard and Tyron Smith was at tackle, that he would have been kind of the swing guy. Because guess what he did last Friday? He was the starting center. So they were obviously looking to see if they had another alternative at center that can also play guard that they could trust and be the backup on game day for both positions. I don't think that Jason Peters solves anything. I think he ends up as insurance to me, and then he can maybe be the backup swing tackle and a guy that can play some guard. Because when he was at Philadelphia, you guys remember that one year they were going to use him at guard, and they re-signed him as a guard. And then the tackles got hurt, and they said, well, we're going to move you to tackle. And he was going, whoa, wait a minute. You're paying me like a guard. You're not paying me like a left tackle. And he was ready to hold out until I believe they redid his contract.
Mickey, who do you think they feel better about as far as the young swing tackles, Josh Ball or Matt Waletzko?
That they kept looking for somebody. Yeah. I'm not sure it was either as the swing tackle. I mean, think about it. Neither one of them played in the NFL last year.
Mm-hmm.
Where was Waletzko? Was it South Dakota, North Dakota, one of them Dakotas?
Yeah.
And Josh Ball had a redshirt year. So, and now you're thinking, okay, these guys can play either side. Well, I don't know about that. So I think that's why, they kind of kept their eyes open on somebody to be the swing tackle. And I think they kept hoping that they could find somebody better than them Camerons they have had, Fleming and Irving, and maybe better than Nasecki. So I think that's what they were looking for. And to me, by the way, if Tyler Smith was going to be the starting left guard, to me, he was the backup swing tackle.
Mickey, how do you stay away from being, and they're going to side whoever they feel like they can help them, whether it's short term or whatever, but how do you not have glitz and glamour when you see the name Jason Peters? How is that even a thing when you're looking at bringing somebody in and you don't get maybe fooled by the name?
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things you have to be careful for, and not to get fooled by the name. I mean, a guy's been in the league 17 years. He's 40 years old. Now, I know he started 15 games for the Bears last year, but they didn't bring him back. There had to be a reason, and no one touched him until now. Now, there's a couple of things that work there, though. One, do you think he wanted to go to training camp?
No.
At 40? Absolutely not. No. And two, who knows what he's been asking for from a money standpoint? And so, although when you wake up at September 1st and you don't have a job and you still want to play, you're sitting there going, well, maybe playing for $2 million, I can earn $3 million. Doesn't sound all that bad if I, need the money. So we'll see where this one goes. But you're exactly right. And I always say that about free agents. You got to be careful not being seduced by the name. Make sure you know how well the guy can play still.
At the same time, is it better to have a guy that's kind of an old Grizzly veteran because he probably, no matter how often he's worked out or what he wants to go to training camp or whether he's in great shape yet, but he kind of just can make it happen for a short amount of time?
Maybe he would be better off following the Michael Irvin 3-second rule. Remember that? It's like, can I just get an offensive tackle out there that can stand in front of the end for 3 seconds? He doesn't have to pancake him. He doesn't have to do anything. Just get in his way for 3 seconds. And this guy, as big as I heard he looked, he probably can get in somebody's way.
Yeah. Mickey, are there any other things that concern you about the roster after the 53 was announced?
I still think, one of the question marks, other than the offensive line that's awfully young at this point, you realize 3 of the 5 starters are going into no more than their 3rd season. The center and the right tackle, they've only got 2 years of experience. And if Tyler Smith's the starter at left tackle, he's a rookie. So that's awfully young on an offensive line. I would say, the great unknown is the wide receiver position, because Michael Gallup's not going to be back in time to play in maybe the first 2 games. I watched his rehab today, and boy, he was running really well. But again, he hasn't practiced football since December. And so, he's going to need a couple of weeks ramp up time. And that's why they kept him on the 53, because if they left him on non-football injury or PUP, whatever he was on, I think PUP, then he has to miss the first 4 games. But not only that, you can't practice in that interim, but that he's on the 53. Now he can start practicing whenever they decide that he's good to practice. And if that takes 2 weeks and they get to game 4 and he's ready to go, well, then, okay, you can play him. But if you left him on PUP, then he's got to stay off the entire time. But you're going to have to go with young guys. CeeDee Lamb is the only one now in that wide receiver group that has caught an NFL touchdown pass. Think about that. So that's a lot of inexperience. At this point, and without James Washington there, your second wide receiver is Noah Brown. He's going into his 6th season. Never caught a touchdown pass. He's just been kind of a 4th, 5th receiver, special teams guy. And now you're counting on him to be the number 2 guy. And when you get to number 3, it's going to be a raw rookie, most likely. Or Simi Fehoko, who played 7 offensive snaps last year. Or Cavante Turpin, who a year or so ago was playing football in Poland. So, yeah, if you need something to worry about, I would imagine not only can those guys perform at a high level, do they know what to do? And Dak Prescott talked about it, and he goes, I've got confidence that these guys do know what to do and where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Now it's a matter of, okay, but now you're going up against NFL corners. Now what happens? And that, to me, right now is the great unknown.
Thank you, Mickey. Appreciate you, as always. Mickey Spagnola with us, DallasCowboys.com, as they, again, the preseason gives everybody a chance to kind of take a deep breath this weekend and then get ready for everything that opens up the following weekend.
Y'all realize this is year 7 for Dak and Zeke?
Yep. I'm very well aware.
Year 7 for those guys.
And working on their 6th Super Bowl. Oh, wait, that's not happening.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just puzzled by how you get this deep, and I know injuries happen and all that, but, it's just kind of crazy to me that there's like this glaring issue right on the eve of a season. And especially when it boils down to, on the one hand, you know, his kicker was the issue originally, and it's just kind of like, how do you allow that to happen? I mean, but then, you know, for a Tyron Smith injury to basically just crater everything in the, you know, initial shock of it, there really should be no shock at all, given how dinged up he's been. I mean, that was playing with fire every time he was out there. So
I mean, it's ignoring recent history.
Yeah,
to a high degree.
It's just hoping that it's going to work, basically, and that's not a great strategy.
The Cowboys always have one issue on offense and one issue on defense that is bigger than all the other ones, and it is the thing that eats them alive. Last year, it was penalties that just ate them alive, but when you bring it up to them, the idea is like, well, it's not that. What? There's penalties. You know, like, well, yeah, you're losing games because of them.
Say that again.
Like, there's penalties. I mean, that's what you hear. Like, it's just, there's never an explanation, because the only explanation is stop doing it.
I listen, my favorite NFL team is no different than my favorite college team. They're awful. They're a dumpster fire, and it's driving me nuts.
But the Cowboys don't have the decency to do that.
What would drive me more nuts is the tease, the annual tease. And it's not just the media hype. It's just they tease you. And they're just always good enough to tease you.
I'm going to tell you.
Unless it's just a team that falls apart because of injury.
I don't think that they will beat Tampa Bay week 1, but I would be not shocked at all if they muscled up, beat Tampa Bay, and everybody thinks like, oh, man, they really got something going here. And then from there, it just...
Well,
the Cowboys are back. Can't wait to hear that in week number 1.
We've heard that about college programs as well. Craig Smoak's Off the Radar is next on Sick on 365 Radio. I went by Don's Humidor last Saturday, went by and picked up a box of cigars. Ashley, Carol, Cheyenne, they run it in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco. And I just looked around, and there are certain brands that I like more than others. Ashton, Macanudo, Romeo and Julieta. I really do enjoy Rocky Patel. Seems like their cigars are very smooth, light tasting. And not so much tasting, but yeah, in a way there is. La Fontana is one of my favorites. They've got the Churchill, the longer cigar, and also one that's a torpedo end that's got a little sweet feel to it, like a taste to it. They have a 48-foot walk-in humidor loaded up. Cohiba, Padron, all the names you want. And then they have CBD product gummies that you could chew at night. And you could also all of a sudden start to maybe get that extra 30, 45 minutes, an hour or more of sleep. And how much better would you feel when you woke up if that was the case? Don's Humidor and Coffee Beans in the Townwest Shopping Center, Valley Mills in Waco.
Lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwest Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Baylor University is where lights shine
You can
bright.
fry an egg
So,
in the bed of a
let there
pickup
be
truck.
light.
Jay here from Pickup Outfitters here to give you a little heat relief and some protection for your poor truck bed. August is bed cover month at Pickup Outfitters, and we're making it easy for you to cover up that hot bed on your truck with discounts of up to $200, plus matching rebates of up to $200, and double your warranty on many of those covers. That's up to $400 in discounts and rebates, plus double your warranty on bed covers at Pickup Outfitters. And you get our famous lifetime installation guarantee and free warranty assistance, which makes for a worry-free purchase. When's the last time you could say that about your bed? A truck bed. Get your poor bed some heat relief with a brand new bed cover, including name brands like Backflip, Undercover, X-Tang, Retrax, Roll-N' Lock, and Truxedo. Up to $400 in discounts and rebates with double your warranty. It's only at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
How did Edward Jones become one of the biggest financial service companies in the world? By not acting that way. Financial strategies, one-on-one advice, it's a big difference. And that's why Brad Wilson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, makes sense of investing. Experience the difference for yourself. Brad Wilson, 250 Sharon Drive in Woodway, 254-776-4337. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed, everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injury, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for Craig Smoak's Off the Radar. Brought to you by Pickup Outfitters. Since 1997, we've been outfitting trucks, SUVs, and vans at 220 Lake Air Drive or createacommotion.com.
All right, welcome into Off the Radar on 365 Sports. Taking a look at a grab bag of stories from around the world of sports that we haven't gotten to previously, or we might not get to over this last hour with a couple of guests. So diving right in, there are a couple of college football notes. I'm not typically, or at least usually, the bigger notes we'll have throughout the show, but in this case, we haven't looked at the headlines, and one of those that came out just a little while ago was good news for Kansas Jayhawk fans to some extent, as the school is apparently extending Coach Lance Leipold's contract by 1 year. Now it will run through the 2027 season. 2-10 last year, but they beat Texas, and there's a lot of optimism that they're not going to be a bowl team this season, but that they could be better. I know Travis on our website, I think I saw him mention, maybe it was yesterday, that he doesn't think they'll finish last. I do. For right now, I'm sticking with them as finishing 10th because I need to see a reason why they're not going to be the 10th place team. I believe they'll be better. I believe Jalen Daniels is a great player. I think they've got things going in the right direction, but who's going to 10th then? Because I don't know. I can state a case, I think, a lot better for everybody else. But that's what's going to be fun is that we'll finally see. And they very well may not finish 10th. Maybe it'll be Joey McGuire and Texas Tech, although I think that would be, even if, I don't think Tech has to make a bowl game for this to be a successful year, but I think finishing dead last in the conference behind Kansas, even with them having a little bit of mojo, would be a disappointment. So I'm still sticking with them in my power rankings this week as the number 10 team, but there are signs on the horizon that things are brightening up, and the longer he's there, the better. But Lance Leipold, an extra year in his contract through 2027, he'll make $3.5 million in that final year.
Yeah, that would have to mean a collapse from somebody. Somebody's really just gotten way worse because Kansas,
or they got way better.
Yeah, Kansas
did.
Still has a lot of stuff to do, and the athletic department is letting the team grow. They're not expecting contending for the Big 12 title anytime soon, which is what they need to do because it was nothing. It was completely bare bones.
Let me tell you something. I don't know what they'll do this year. I do like him. The last thing they need to do is go through another change. Stick with what they have. Let him do what he needs to do. Let him marinate and leave him the hell alone. That's good that they extended his deal.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, that's good news for, like I said, KU to go ahead and get that done, add an extra year of security. I am fascinated to see, in the long run, how long he sticks around in Lawrence. I mean, is this a project he intends on seeing through? It's a project where you look up 6 years from now and he's still there, or are people going to notice, hey, he's doing some positive things in the worst situation imaginable, really, in the last few years in college football? We want him at our program because he's clearly the real deal. And I liked the hire when they made it. I hope he sticks around there for a while because I think the longer he does, the better off they will be. But, yeah, some contract news there for Lance Leipold. You may have seen on social media, one of the big stories in sports is Serena Williams and her last run, so to speak. Social media is not a great indicator all the time of what's popular. There are definitely pockets of popularity that exist on social media that really don't extend into the real world, but it can be a good, litmus test for what the hot topics are. And I think Serena is probably one of those that does go in both directions, popularity-wise. So there is some real oomph behind the fact that she is on her final legs as a professional tennis player. She's going to be a mom. There was a little bit of controversy over a comment she made about how it was unfair that she has to retire when she does. Men can, continue playing. And I don't know how much of that was taken out of context. I really don't care about that. It's all about how she's going to finish. And, there was a big to-do the very first night she played because of the risk that she might lose and be done. So they had this Gail King's out there and this whole to-do. But last night she gets another big win, and she's now headed to the third round, which will take place on Friday night as far as the singles competition goes. There's been a lot of pro athletes that have been in attendance or have been commenting on social media, but she'll also be pairing with her sister Venus as well in doubles competition. So she's got that coming up as well. The doubles matchup with Sister Venus will be tonight at 6 o'clock. So you can check that out. And then her next singles match, again, the third rounder, will take place tomorrow at around 6 o'clock. So Serena Williams, the last run of one of the greats all time.
Here's what happens when you beat the number 2 overall seed, because she hasn't been winning. You open up the bracket on your side. Now, that doesn't mean she's going to win Saturday or Friday or whenever she's going to play again. But the bracket opens up to you. It's like the NCAA tournament. There's a bracket. If you beat the number 1 or 2 seed or top 3 or 4 seed, the bracket's on that side for the number 1, 2, and 3, 4 seeds for a reason. So, it'd be amazing. It's almost like I don't see her winning it, but would it be like Tiger winning the Masters for the first time in forever?
Oh,
Would it be maybe more of a miracle than that because she just hasn't been
Tiger
very good?
Masters was pretty freaking like out of nowhere, unbelievable. That was like rare air tear. Nobody thought that was happening.
By the way, Tiger was there last year.
Yeah, he was. That's one of the athletes that was tweeting about everything and excited by that. So yeah, I mean, if you see a lot of Serena on your timelines because she's still active and trying to fend off retirement and close out on a high note, both in singles and in doubles. A lot of NFL news. I could do a whole segment on just cuts revolving around Baylor football. I've got a piece. It's been waiting, but a couple days ago there was a 53-man roster cut. A lot of guys got put out on the streets, out on the waiver wires, and I saw some reporting of like, this many people have made the 53-man. Yes, technically that is right, but there's a lot that goes into the roster building after that, and it still continues right now. There's IR designations. There's extra spots created. There's the practice squads that you have to get signed to. So I didn't report on anything really Baylor-related the other day in one big fell swoop because if I had done that, it would already be outdated given that, 10 of the 12 guys cut or whatever are already back on teams and are on practice squads, So there's been a lot of that type of activity. But one of the moves made today, Tyquan Thornton has been placed on short-term injured reserve for the New England Patriots. Not surprising after suffering an injury in their second preseason game. He will be out 4 games as a result. He'll miss the first month of the season, but hopefully he'll get back in a short amount of time and be healthy and ready to go out of the gates because New England clearly has high hopes for him. And I think that, he could be one of those kind of surprising rookies for Baylor football, but he's got to be healthy, and that is a concern. Just looking at his frame and everything, that would be your number one concern about him. So hopefully this isn't the start of kind of what that concern has always been.
Well, yeah, somebody's got to break that streak of Baylor wide receivers.
Golly.
I mean, Kendall Wright had a good first year and a half.
Well, in other news, Josh Gordon got picked up by who was that?
The
Titans. I haven't seen anything on Corey Coleman since he got cut. Maybe he's been picked up again, but I haven't seen that if he has. And then Denzel Mims, I know you sent me that article, Paul. That's another one that you're waiting to see what's going to happen with him. Robert Saleh, their head coach, is saying all the right things in regards to Denzel and not trying to run him out of the building. But Denzel's also got to, maneuver himself into playing time spot. He's frustrated. I get that. And I'm still curious to see whether or not he's going to be on the Jets when all is said and done. But I feel like if they had a reasonable trade offer, that'd be something they probably would have pulled the trigger on. So I guess he'll just have to stay in New York for the time being, and hopefully it works out for him.
I'm going to ask somewhat of an uneducated, because I haven't looked at the depth chart. Does Carolina have a wide receiver issue?
They just traded for LaVisca Chenault.
Yeah, knowing Denzel is available.
So that might. I'm not saying that says something, but that sure could say something. Yeah.
I mean, possibly, or maybe that was just a lot easier of a deal to swing for LaVisca Chenault than it was for Denzel Mims. And what's really, is one really that much different than the other? Maybe it boils down to it's just easier to get this guy and not go through the hoops of trying to get Denzel Mims from New York when clearly everybody's aware that he's available now. So there's still a lot of maneuvering going on. I'll probably have a full-blown piece out tomorrow. But again, even today, there were guys getting signed to practice squads, and I wanted to have the latest information rather than the first information. So be on the lookout for that over on Sikkim365.com. A couple of other NFL notes. Harold Landry, big loss for the Tennessee Titans as he is going to be missing some time, torn ACL for the top pass rusher out there in Tennessee to get so close to the season. You'd think almost there's so many teams, so many players that you'd hear more about it, but it is kind of the rare thing to get all the way to this point and then boom, the dreaded ACL injury or any type of other injury. So that happened during practice on Wednesday. He had 12 sacks last season. First time the Titans had double-digit sacks since Brian Arakpo, the former Longhorn, did it back in 2015 when he got 10.5. Big-time presence on third down in particular. But, he's going to be out of action for the Tennessee Titans. So a big blow for that roster.
That's a huge hit for them. And I think that I don't think this is a make-or-break year for Mike Vrabel, but this was the top seed in the AFC last year, and right now the way that things are stacking up for them, they might be that team that went to the playoffs but doesn't the next year.
Yeah, quite possibly. Russell Wilson has agreed to a 5-year extension, get $245 million overall, $165 million guaranteed.
I just don't know how you live like that.
Yeah, I don't know either. I do know that when he made one of his first purchases, or at least rental agreements or whatever, is he got like the stereotypical Colorado SUV. Did you see that picture back when training camp opened? It looked like he was like going directly into the mountains to live off, the nature and everything. But yeah, I mean, he'll have plenty of trucks to buy and whatever else with the $165 million in guaranteed money, third most lucrative contract in NFL history. And this is what's really odd, man. This is weird. So Russell Wilson, third most lucrative contract in NFL history. The only two in front of him, Kyler Murray, who we know just got a deal done, and a whole little really weird video game, chapter to that, and Deshaun effing Watson. Again, why did the Browns give him so much guaranteed money?
They were just trying to, I guess, get him there, but
I'll never understand that. I'll never understand the desire. I still haven't seen an explanation. If there's a logical explanation for why they had to make him not just so highly paid to obtain him, but to give him like record-shattering guaranteed money with all its swirling. I'm at a loss, man. I don't get that. And, I just really don't know how karma's going to work out with that in the long run.
A guy who at most is going to play 7 games in 2 years.
But you just have to give him all of it. I mean, good for him. I get, I'm not knocking another person's money, but just, given the sequence of events, given the timing of it, what is Cleveland doing? Get Deshaun Watson, fine. But did you have to go that far with it? That you basically hamstring your franchise potentially over this massive I don't know. Well, that's going to be fascinating to see in a few years how that eventually worked out for them.
Zach Hiller, who's an NFL agent, blasted initially, made a comment about Russell Wilson and the contract. And the contract, the comment was company guy. In other words, saying that Wilson gave the Broncos a discount. Then he got blasted for it because, wait a minute.
Because that's a
then
bad
he came
thing?
back. Well, agents were mad because it's not as good as Deshaun Watson's quarterback contract. Agents want this thing. They want Deshaun Watson's, all that guaranteed money now for everybody. He then came back. This was after he said, Russ is a superstar. How can any Bronco get a better contract than him? They can't and they shouldn't. Company guy doing favors for the establishment, the NFL, to keep the rest of the men down. He'll get something behind the scenes for this.
Oh, F off.
Then, for clarity, though, Russ isn't responsible for anyone but himself. Much respect.
Oh, kiss off, dude. That is the biggest backtrack. That's a BS. Who wrote that?
People started asking him, why backtrack if you're going to sit there and say what he said?
Come on,
He's an
dude.
agent, NFL agent, Zach Hiller.
Whatever.
He's just barely behind Kyler Murray, and he's older. So maybe that – yeah, so I don't think – did Kyler didn't get the big deal like Deshaun did, and he's worth more to me now than Deshaun Watson is because he's not suspended for being terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to get mad at Russell Wilson for, helping the team out or being the company guy. We're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not like he is getting $20 million guaranteed. He's going to be just fine. And Deshaun Watson being the benchmark, that's the problem of, again, the Cleveland Browns and his representation. They worked that deal, and if you want to be mad at anything, be mad at that. Be mad at the fact that the guy who's, was in the potentially being suspended for the entire year, which he won't be, but that was in the midst of that being a real possibility, they decided, let's make him the most guaranteed player of all time. And, be mad at that. Don't be mad at Russell Wilson for not maxing out his, as much as he can get because maybe he wants to help the team a little bit. I think that's lame as hell.
He's also 33 or 4 years old.
That's a lame as hell response, agent or not. That's lame. I did see where I did look up his timeline. He did retweet a Baylor-related Josh Gordon signing with the Tennessee Titans. So Flash Gordon back in the NFL after getting cut by the Chiefs. Again, that's another guy I was waiting on before I published that most updated piece. But, that's interesting contract news. And then finally, out of the NBA, big news today, big trade. Spider Mitchell headed to the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Utah Jazz are in major rebuild mode, and that's been very clear. Swung the deal earlier this offseason with Rudy Gobert, and now Donovan Mitchell on his way out. The Cavaliers acquiring the 3-time All-Star earlier today. They will send the Jazz forward Lauri Markkanen, rookie wing Ochai Agbaji, who we know very well, guard Colin Sexton as well, and 3 unprotected first-round picks plus 2 pick swaps. All of that going to Utah for Spider Mitchell. So, big move in the NBA today, and their offseason has really started to resemble the NFL in many ways, where it's as popular as the regular season is.
Ochai Agbaji and Jared Butler, same squad.
There you go. Yeah.
Both national champions. Is that it?
Yeah, that's everything I'm willing to talk about today.
The
off the
NBA
radar.
throws names. I mean, you talk about trades that you have to, really almost write it all down. 3 players, 9 picks, whatever. It's crazy. Dirk Nowitzki today had his number retired in Germany. The first ever player to have his jersey retired by the German Basketball Federation. So that's a pretty cool story to add to the list as well. That just was something that Tim McMahon put out. We come back, we'll talk Ohio State football next. Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Got an email today from Braden Embry. On the first of the month, I send out a lot of different invoices to sponsors, and Braden sent one back that he's thrilled to be a part of what our growth has been since we began back on April the 6th of 2020, and we're thrilled to be a part of Pioneer Steel and Pipe. And how about being a part of a company that's been open since 1943? That's crazy. Since 1943, no matter what has happened, no matter the economy, no matter who's in charge of Congress, no matter what is thrown at this country, they are still bigger, better, faster, stronger, and they're brand new buildings so close to being open here in Waco. Open right now with locations, 1943 in Waco and Bryant. Pioneer Steel and Pipe specializes in pipe, steel, and metal. Metal buildings, they can help you find out what you need about it, have the material, help you with the contractors, help you even build it if that's what you need at pioneerboys.com.
If you're out looking for a great selection of new cars and trucks, then shop Allen Samuels in Waco, because we have some of the best deals in Central Texas that will put you in a new vehicle and driving away with confidence. During the Labor Day sales event, you can take your pick, a new 2022 Dodge Charger or Dodge Challenger, and receive 0% for 72 months and no payments for 90 days. If you're a first responder, you get an extra $500 off your purchase. High-quality vehicles from a dealership with a hometown feel. Allen Samuels in Waco.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and 2-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
Parenting is full of surprises.
You never know what to expect.
So after our son was born, I called my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent to set up a life insurance policy in case something happened to me.
Sawyer is now 2.
And we'll soon have a sister. There's no one else I would trust with protecting my family.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Stroud launching for the end zone. Jump ball. Touchdown, Smith and Jigba. Are you kidding me?
The 5 o'clock hour is brought to you by Edward Jones and financial advisor Cam Heathcott. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
11 Warriors, and on Twitter at Dan_Hope. It's a website Twitter page that's got, well, the website Twitter page has over 200,000 who follow it. And Dan Hope, of course, joins us from Columbus, Ohio on the weekend of Ohio State Notre Dame. Dan, thanks for your time. It seems like of some of what the game, I call them bangers, like two good, highly ranked teams. You're talking about two teams in the top 5. But it almost feels like everyone just thinks this is a done deal with Ohio State. Do you get that impression?
I think that is what a lot of people think. But, I mean, I don't know if that's necessarily what people should think because, you know, like you said, it is two top 5 teams going into this game and, you know, so many unknowns as the season begins. But, you know, I think a lot of that, you know, stems from the fact that, you know, Ohio State has so much star power returning on offense with C.J. Stroud and Jackson Smith and Jigba and Travion Henderson. And I think the perception out there is that Notre Dame, you know, is not going to have the same kind of offensive firepower to be able to match that.
What would be the thing that trips up the Buckeyes this year if something does?
Well, you know, I mean, I think you look at their schedule and, you know, Ohio State is probably going to be favored in every game, but that doesn't mean that it's an easy schedule. I mean, if you look at, you know, starting off with Notre Dame right off the bat, you've got Wisconsin later this month. You go into the month of October, you've got Michigan State, Iowa, Penn State, and then, of course, there's Michigan at the end of the season. This is games everyone's going to be circling on the calendar. So there's a lot of potential roadblocks in there. You know, it's easy to say going into the season, well, they should win every game, but that's a lot easier said than done. And all it takes is one loss, whether it's, you know, this week or at any point in the season, all it takes is one loss, and then all of a sudden you lose your margin for error in terms of trying to make the college football playoff. And so while, you know, I think, you know, Ohio State is probably going to be favored in every regular season game that plays, I still think there's a lot of hurdles they're going to have to clear to ultimately be able to achieve their goals.
Where does the question of how much Jim Knowles can do in year one rank amongst those mysteries heading into this season?
Oh, I think it's number one for sure after, you know, obviously the defense was a weak point for Ohio State, really the last 2 seasons, but especially last season. And so I think, you know, that's what everybody in Columbus is really curious about right now is how good is this defense going to be? And is Jim Knowles going to be able to turn it around immediately? Because, you know, obviously we saw what he did at Oklahoma State last year. He had a great defense there, but it took him 4 years to do that. At Ohio State, the expectation is he's able to do that in 1. And so we have to see. I mean, he's certainly got more talent to work with at Ohio State than he's ever had before in his career, but he's also never had a defense that's been elite in year 1. And so I think, you know, that's the whole question is, you know, trying to implement a complex scheme, can the extra level of talent that he has in Columbus maybe nullify some of the learning curve that there was in past stops? He's certainly confident. Everybody within the program is certainly confident that that's going to be able to happen, but you know, we got to see it to really know.
So it wasn't a talent issue. It was more of maybe just it not getting through to the players?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at what Ohio State has had on defense year in and year out, I mean, they've had 4- and 5-star players on defense. So it's not as if Ohio State didn't have some of the most talented defensive players in the country the last couple of years. They just didn't get those kind of results.
Well, it was a talent that wasn't reaching their potential or overrated getting on campus.
Well, I mean, you could probably look at it from both sides, but I think it's probably more so the first part of it that, you had, a lot of talented players, but the pieces just weren't all coming together. But, sometimes, if you're not utilizing players in the right way, if you're not putting them in the right spots in the scheme, you can kind of, lessen what they're able to do with their talent. And so I think, really, I think that's mostly what it was the last couple of years is, Ohio State just didn't have the scheme that it needed to match its talent. And I think there's more optimism now that what Ohio State is doing defensively is going to fit the strengths of its players.
Dan, what do you look for from Notre Dame this week to try and throw the kitchen sink at that offense?
Yeah, well, I mean, they have to try everything, right? I mean, they've got a new defensive coordinator too, and Al Golden. So you would think that they're going to have some new wrinkles, but it's tough. It's kind of pick your poison, right? Because you've got C.J. Stroud, throwing at Jackson and Jigba and some really talented receivers, but you've also got Travion Henderson, who is going to be one of the best running backs in the country. And so when Marcus Freeman met with the media this week, he said that their top priority was going to be stopping the run. And I mean, I think there is logic to that because, I mean, if you look at the games Ohio State struggled in last year, it was because they didn't run the ball well. And, that is, I think, the bigger question mark for Ohio State is just, will they be able to, get those tough yards on the ground? And so I think, Notre Dame's going to try to do that and try to limit, Ohio State finishing drives in the red zone, converting those short yardage situations. I think that's what Notre Dame's really going to have to be able to do to stay in this game, because I think, Ohio State's going to hit its big plays with the talent it has in the passing game. I think, Notre Dame's secondary in some respects is going to be overmatched in that regard. But, if Notre Dame can make those key stops, if they can, stop Ohio State from, finishing drives in opposing territory, that could give Notre Dame a chance.
What's the temperature gauge on Ohio State fans' love for Marcus Freeman right now?
Well, it's definitely lukewarm. It's definitely some of the comments that he made, this offseason, certainly, when he was quoted in the Players Tribune as saying, he was glad he didn't make the wrong decision twice. That definitely turned Ohio State fans off. So, I think that he's not coming back as the most beloved son for this game. But, I mean, Notre Dame was going to be greeted with boos anyway. So, I mean, it's, it's one of those things. I mean, I think no matter what, Notre Dame is going to be stepping into a hostile environment, but Marcus Freeman did add a little bit of extra fuel to that fire.
And what incredible timing! Just the fact that that's like how it all starts for him is playing is that's just really cool. That's a fun little subplot to everything.
Yeah, and there's kind of a few of those. There's Al Washington, their defensive line coach. Mm-hmm. He was the linebackers coach at Ohio State last year. James Laurinaitis, who of course was a star at Ohio State, he's now a graduate assistant at Notre Dame. And there was even some rumors that Notre Dame tried to poach a couple of other Ohio State coaches this offseason. And so it definitely does add a little bit more drama, certainly to the pregame storyline.
So I saw the video that you had put up on your timeline. It's from Ohio State football with C.J. Stroud giving the entire team, was it suits? Is that correct?
He gave them $500 gift cards to go buy suits for one of his sponsors, Express. That's a Columbus-based company. He's actually a brand ambassador for them, along with Jackson Smith and Jigba. And so, through a partnership with them, he was able to get gift cards for everyone on the team.
Well, that's part of the good thing with the NIL. I mean, a lot of the good thing with the NIL, but it's neat that he was able to share that with his teammates as well. We mentioned the defense. You've mentioned Jim Knowles, all of that. Is there a player that last year didn't get to do much just because they're so loaded that you are looking forward to maybe the next level or what he can bring to the team?
I think two guys really that I'm looking at are at defensive end position. JT Tuimoloau and Jack Sawyer, they're both going into their second year. They were both top 5 overall prospects in their recruiting class last year. Actually, I think the 2 highest rated defensive linemen that Ohio State has ever signed. And so, we saw some flashes from them as freshmen, but didn't really see anything with any consistency. I think those are 2 guys that if this defense is going to reach its potential, they need to emerge. They need to become those next star defensive ends like we've seen from Ohio State in the past with guys like Chase Young and the Bosa brothers. And so I'm really intrigued to see what do we see from them here in this first game, and do they start to break through and become those really disruptive players that Ohio State expects them to be up front.
Dan, thank you. Great stuff. Thank you for being patient with us today, and I hope to have you back on again.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
That's Dan Hope, covers Ohio State 11 Warriors. You spell it out, and then the Twitter feed, I think it's 11W. And good stuff. Ohio State loaded, and now C.J. Stroud begins yet his next journey towards possibility of leading them to a national championship, Big Ten championship, and then maybe the Heisman Trophy. God, he was really, really good for a team that kind of got knocked out early as far as some of the way you looked at him.
Well, and look, it wasn't his fault that they lost the games they did. It was the fact their defense wasn't very good. So if that can get – it doesn't have to get a whole lot better. They got thumped by Michigan. Oregon physically handled them, but they were, within shouting distance of that Oregon game. The Michigan game was kind of a different animal, but – you make that defense even slightly better, and this is an offense that most teams can't keep up with.
Yeah, and yet they replaced 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns in their receiving corps alone. Most teams would be absolutely crippled by that, but they're able to, just buy Garrett Wilson, buy Chris Olave. We still got Jackson Smith and Jigba, and we've got, numerous, incoming or up-and-coming players to replace.
Harrison
Yeah,
Jr.
Marvin Harrison Jr. is one of those headliners that is going to take the next step to be a major headliner now and take one of those roles that's now vacant for sure. He's one of those guys. But yeah, if you were to say that any other team in the country outside of Alabama, Ohio State was replacing 2,000 yards and 25 touchdowns of receiving, I don't know who else could really turn around and be able to overcome that. But Ohio State is one of those teams, and I expect them to win this game. I expect them to win this game without having to bite their fingernails down to the nub. I think they'll win it, ultimately comfortably, but it will be really fun to see all of the subplots in play and really fun to see just, if they can go the whole way without hitting one of those stumbling blocks, because on paper they're as good as anybody, really. Maybe you give a slight edge to Alabama or, everybody's got their own thing, but, there's not many cases to make against them. And there's a lot of pressure on Jim Knowles. Right out of the gates, he's not really there to have 3-4 years to build this thing up. It's like, no, they need you to be that guy right now and take advantage of this window they have with Stroud and company. So the journey begins with Notre Dame. That should give them a top 5 win, I would think. And if they don't win that game, then that will be something, incredibly interesting to talk about, in its own right. So looking forward to that one.
Sam Bradshaw, S11 as he's known, a football analyst, yet among many, Sikkim365.com, but also somebody that this summer has been really, really brilliant in how he's broken down some of how people look at the what and who and numbers and TV and all of that. He'll join us on Fridays normally, but this week he's traveling this weekend, so he's going to join us next on Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports. August wrapped up an incredibly successful month for Pickup Outfitters. It was bed cover month. But really, you think about it, it could always be bed cover month because that's what they specialize in. They specialize in what you put on your pickup truck, all the different things you want to put. It could be the bump step or, they can add steps to your car, to the front seats or the back seats. If it's a little bit higher than off the ground than normal, they can do that for you. But they've had these discounts and rebates on their bed cover. You can double it up at Pickup Outfitters because of what they have available. Here are some of the brand names: X-Tang, Backflip, Retrax, Rock and Lock, Tuxedo, Undercover, rebates, discounts, warranties available with what they have for your pickup truck. Jay Arrett, Pickup Outfitters, CreateACommotion.com.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB Your Bank for Life. Member FDIC.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season, and BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Sam Bradshaw of Sikkim365.com.
Sam Bradshaw this week on Thursday. Normally, as I mentioned, will be Fridays. He's traveling. He joins us Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. Okay, Sam, you have done a lot of things from breaking down eyeballs and TV and all that for schools, but now we get games. How are you just excited about there's an actual football game where you could start to have evidence?
Thanks for having me on, and I am so excited football's back. I'm looking forward to seeing a couple Big 12 teams on TV tonight, but I'm most of all looking forward to seeing what the Bears got this season, just with a lot of new faces on the back end on defense and a lot of new faces outside at the skill positions on offense, but a lot to look forward to in the trenches.
All right, so let's discuss Albany first and what Coach Gattuso, he's a guy that, of course, had a great run at Duquesne. He's now in the early tenure of what he's doing at Albany. They've played Syracuse. They've played Pittsburgh. Now they're playing Baylor. If you were to say what is their strength, if they had one, what would it be?
I would say that they've got a really good passing offense. Structurally, the way they run their offense, they do a really good job scheming up the pass, and I think they're a very sound defensive team. I think they've run into a little problem with the Jimmies and the Joes over the last couple seasons. But, this is a program where a lot of those kind of schemes and a lot of this coaching staff took them to their first ever FCS playoff win back in 2019. And it's a good coaching staff. I mean, offensively, they've had a lot of success. Defensively, Gattuso was a defensive line coach for both Pitt and Maryland. He was actually at Pitt with working as a D-line coach under both Paul Rhodes and also a friend of the show, Phil Bennett. Definitely more of a quarters scheme with 4-down look defensively, which is going to be a bit of a throwback to what Baylor was running mid-decade and what a lot of teams in the Big 12 are running for that matter. So it's going to be an interesting matchup. They tend to go small in their personnel in order to get more speed on the field, and they'll take some chances in coverage as a result.
Sam, what do you think we will see from Baylor at the skill positions this week? Especially, I mean, they're not going to try to show much against Albany before they have BYU. So what do you expect we'll see?
I expect we'll see them lean heavily on the run just to keep things off of film. I mean, BYU's defensive staff knows Grimes. They know generally what he wants to do based on what kind of personnel he has. I mean, he was in Provo for however long he happened to be there, several years. So, I mean, they're going to have a good idea of what's coming. But the thing is, I just want to see how the individual players step up. I want to see a receiver kind of take the job of being that number one guy and really step in. I want to see those running backs run hard and make good cuts, good vision, and get downhill. And defensively, I'm really hoping to see what we can identify on the back end of the defense. How are the new faces that are replacing Kalen Barnes, that are replacing JT Woods, that are replacing Jalen Petrie? How are they going to step in and do a good job of really allowing Baylor to stay on a Big 12 title track?
Sam, I know we're not going to see the full meal deal in week number 1, but how do you anticipate this offense changing with Blake Shapen now leading the charge, the offensive line returning en masse, and as you said, questions at the skill spots, but it's going to be a different look, it feels like. In what ways do you think that will be?
I think you'll have a little bit more of a drop-back passing game because Shapen has a greater command of it than Bohannon did, at least from the start that they had last season. And I think that you're going to have a little bit less of the quarterback run game. Shapen can still run it a little bit the way that you saw guys like Nick Florence or Charlie Brewer run it for Baylor at times. But you also noticed that Brewer got hurt repeatedly, and Shapen actually got hurt running the ball against Oklahoma State in the Big 12 title game. So you can't run him that frequently or else you run that risk. But the short passing game, his ability to buy time and scramble, I think you're going to see a little bit more of a wide open scheme the way that you saw BYU be a little more open than what Baylor did this past season because they had Zach Wilson. They had a quarterback that they felt could deliver at unorthodox angles. They had a quarterback that could buy time scrambling and deliver with accuracy and on time. I mean, it was night and day from what we've seen in the passing game most of the season to what you saw in the Big 12 title game for the first 3 quarters or first 2.5 quarters before Shapen got hurt, where the ball was getting out of his hands, it was coming out accurately, and it was putting a really good Oklahoma State defense through their paces.
Sam, you mentioned the back end of the defense. They have an amazing front, at least it should be, based on who's back and not just the experience, but the players and talent. The linebackers are deep. Who do you kind of think might jump out of that group on the back end and become? No one's going to become Jalen Petrie. No one probably is JT Woods, but maybe somebody who becomes their number one playmaker, if not Al Walcott.
Well, I think Al Walcott's certainly a candidate moving to that star position because you have a guy that started for him at corner, which gives you a lot of coverage flexibility there, but is also physical enough to mix it up on blitzes and defend against the run. But also Devin Neal, who's seeing time both at star and at safety, because I think there may have been an injury with Walcott, and he's probably coming back I'm not entirely sure on the exact details there, but those two guys would be the initial ones I'd look at. Neal is just a freak, absolute freak of nature physically. Can play safety really well, can play star really well. And then Mark Milton at corner should be an interesting one to see them step into the starting role, along with Lorando Jackson, who moved from star to corner. I mean, all four of those guys are guys that I'm really looking at. I mean, Christian Morgan's going to be a reliable starter at that boundary safety position, coming in for another year as a starter. I mean, you've got speed and you've got talent across the board, but, Neal and Walcott would be the initial ones I'd look for.
Sam Bradshaw, S11 with us, Sikkim 365 radio football analyst.
Sam, is there a way to get a 5 tight end set out on the field?
There's a way. And, Ben Sims and Drake Dabney and all of them, they're not shy about putting them in the slot. So, I mean, it might actually be really funny just to do it almost just to see if the opponent calls timeout so they can substitute.
They have enough that they could do that, and that doesn't include what they would do with Dylan Doyle.
Exactly. I think it was the BYU game last year where he was the unexpected winner of college fantasy for the week. Whoever picked him up off waivers was just grinning ear to ear. Just unexpectedly, the linebacker got a rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown.
Sam, what do you think about Mazuka and what he can bring to the table? Paul interviewed him a few weeks ago. We know that last year he was a part of it a little bit, but it looks like he will get the start at left guard, and he brings a nasty streak.
Well, from what I've heard, he's one of the most gifted guard prospects on the entire roster. And anytime you have somebody with that much potential NFL upside, if the light comes on, you've really got something. And I'm looking forward to seeing what he does, but I'm also looking forward just to seeing what the depth does in general, because the guys that they've got coming up in the pipeline are athletically superior across the board to a lot of what we've seen at Baylor over the last couple decades, just from a can this guy play in the NFL if the light comes on standpoint. They're definitely gambling that they can develop some high upside guys that may not have the best film in some of these cases. And, Maskua is one of those guys that you look at him, that, hey, if he can play half as good as he looks getting off the bus, he's going to have a chance to stick in the NFL. That's that kind of guy. So being able to have a guy like that, that's huge.
One more thing, and it's not about so much on the field, but you wrote numerous columns with graphics and data and all of that on the TVs and eyeballs and conferences and so much more. And people nationally recognized how good it was. It wasn't biased. It was you giving facts. How much fun did you have? I was very tedious, I'm sure, but just kind of going through all that the last 3 to 4 months?
It was fun. And it was fun to finally kind of pay off what I had started working on actually a few years ago. Back in 2016, I was about to do a series like that. And then the site moved platforms, so it never got published. And then the next year they hired rules. So people were wondering more about what are we going to run instead of television numbers. And it just kind of kept getting pushed to the back. But no, it was fun. And I plan to do some more periodically as time goes on. It's just one of those where you want to provide at least some controls for some variables that are leading to bad conclusions across the board, so you can really get an apples to apples look. Because if you're comparing somebody's game on ABC Labor Day weekend to somebody's game on Fox Sports 2 at noon and trying to draw any relevant conclusion, it's not going to lead you there. So just trying to find new ways to bring in fair but realistic considerations for the variables that skew these analyses all the time.
You do a good job with it. Thank you, Sam. Look forward to the weekly segment. Sam Bradshaw with us, Sikkim 365 Radio and 365 Sports. West Virginia, Pittsburgh, just around the corner. Other games, including Oklahoma State with Central Michigan. It's going to be fun to watch games tonight. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports, of course, every day, Monday through Friday from 3 until 6.
Yeah, I really like the West Virginia uniforms now that I see them, in action. Just got a glance from Keenan Cummings, who covers the Mountaineers, and those look really sharp. I mean, we talked about the helmets, and they look cool in the jerseys, but, yeah, seeing them actually on players. Really look nice. So that's another little element to the backyard brawl tonight. But those are keepers for sure. And looking forward to seeing these games. And then me and Grayson and I will be more than happy to actually talk about them and get into them and get into all the other games coming up this weekend starting tomorrow. Looking forward to it.
You'll also have Taylor McHargue joining at 4:30.
Yep,
so
tomorrow
Grayson,
as well, yeah.
Grayson said he was going to get some guests. So
there was one note to close out the segment. John Alrand, who's part of Sports Business Journal, said Amazon's preseason game that they carried, the NFL game, had 1.03 million viewers. The median age was 51. Now, I would think that's about, I don't know what the median age of the NFL is. The NFL is actually a pretty young sport too, but that surprised you? The median age is 51?
No. I mean, I'm surprised at anybody who watches preseason football that doesn't have to work in the industry, So, I'm trying to do Cowboys stuff, so I'll watch the majority of those games, although I didn't see the third one at all because we were working. So I'll watch the first two a little bit and see if there's something to talk about. And, and then of course, I wanted to watch a little bit because Kyle Yeomans, who used to work for us, is doing a lot with them, and kind of wanted to watch him and see how he was doing. So, but outside of that, I had no interest in the game. I mean, I went outside and cleaned my grill for like 25 minutes of the first one and came back in and missed something. I was like, oh, well, darn.
Glass half full, more than 1 million game viewers for Amazon is better than most. My sources expected a preseason game to be. Glass half empty. Amazon's viewership number lags, of course, behind traditional linear TV.
See, man, so I'm trying to warn people about, man, getting this ratings crap, like breaking it down. Like, hey, it's cool. Like, if you want to talk about, like, I know it's relevant that Amazon got 1 million viewers, but please stay away from like the weekly. Oh, do you see Michigan and Akron drew 1.3 and Texas Tech versus Arizona only drew. I mean, that's not fun. I promise you, it's not fun. It's relevant information in some cases, but gosh, please don't make that the new college football bragging rights, because it's going to ruin the. I promise you, it will.
Instead of the games, the results, the scores, the stats. All right, when we come back, Paul Catalina's top 5. Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Cars priced right both day and night. At Richard Car in Texas. Trucks built for you, red, white, and blue. At Richard Car in Texas. Cars that zoom with lots of room. At Richard Car in Texas. Count on us, a dealer to trust. At Richard Car in Waco, Texas.
Stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. See all the things they can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
It takes time to reach goals. It's a truth that applies to more than sports. It goes for your financial goals as well. You work hard for your money, and you deserve an investment strategy that lines up with your game plan. And Tom Albers, your Edward Jones financial advisor, can help. If your financial investments aren't putting forth the effort you desire, stop by today for a financial review. Tom Albers, 4301 Lakeshore Drive, 254-776-7605. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott & White Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
By the way, did you guys hear that super Italian bet I dropped behind the Shorty spot?
No.
I can do that because I am Italian.
I wasn't paying attention, I'll be honest with you. Sorry. No.
Yeah. I'm kind of on a streak. We have a Baptist church that's on in Midway, and I really just nailed that.
Yeah, no, it was a good one. I thought it was a
one.
national. No, I thought it was a national ad.
That's right. Top 5 things I want to hear about the playoff. The committee is meeting again, and blah 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 blah. This has been a big, I'm trying to think of a non-crass term. I can't, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Circle J. The whole time. Number 5, that I want to hear that it's happening in 2024. If you throw out that we're going to vote for it and that it could happen in 2024, then let's do it in 2024. Let's end our little complaining time about the 14 playoff and let's do it in 2024. Get it worked out. I understand there's a ton of details to get worked out, but don't say that like, hey, we have enough support for this. It could happen in 2 years. Don't even say it if that's not going to happen.
Yeah, there's a lot of politicking and reasons why this is circling back around. I do not understand for the life of me why they chose right when the season's finally beginning to throw this back out there. I mean, maybe because there's more attention on the sport again. I don't know, but I don't give a damn about the playoff compared to the games.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm like, I'll start paying attention when they actually meet and something happens. And tomorrow's the meeting, right? Where potentially something could happen, I believe. So tomorrow, we'll talk about that, Grayson and I, to whatever extent there is news. But I am not going to live or die by the touch and go meetings and pulse of the playoff expansion like we did the last couple of years. I don't care enough about the parties involved. I care about the end result, but we wasted a lot of time and a lot of people did on their BS, politicking and only for, this alliance to just crater it. And then we saw that result. So yeah, consider me leery of all the talk.
Consider me until it's done. Yeah. I don't want to know, but I know that's
number 4. It's 12 teams, not 8, not 16. Let's go to 12. I think that to me that ensures that you're going to get enough teams from the non-Power 2 conferences in this thing to make it worth our while.
Well, that's a lot of teams. I don't know. I don't have I don't know if I like 8 or 12. I haven't really decided that. I just hope they get to one of the two. Boy, that's a lot of teams.
I don't like. I think 4 is too little. I do think there's room. I'd be fine with 6. 8 is really as high as I want to go, honestly, because I am so tired of the word elite being abused and overused. I want to see elite teams vying for the playoff. If you're not elite, I don't think there should be a spot for you in the playoff. Now, if you get, you have a great season and you appear to be, and then you get exposed by Ohio State in the semifinals, okay, that's going to happen. There's still going to be blowouts. There's no way to curve any of that. But, yeah, I don't want, any Mike Leach, if you have a pulse, you make the playoff. I think that sucks. I don't want to see it too watered down. So I'm fine with 8 max, but I understand the call for 12.
And most of my thing about 12 is because we know what the SEC and Big Ten are going to try to do. And if it's less than 12, then I feel like the point of this will be
if it's less than 12, if it's 8 or it squeezes, it's going to squeeze people.
Yeah.
The lesser the number, but I don't want to just.
And the PR machine that is the SEC and Big Ten will kind of overtake, and that's what I think 12, at least you can push back on that a little bit. That's why. I kind of agree with you, Craig, in that I don't want a whole bunch of teams, but I feel if we limit it to 8, then 6 of them might wind up being from those 2 leagues eventually, and that's not what I want.
Yeah, but, right now there's 4 of them, and 2 of those, half the field goes to one conference.
Yeah,
So, is that really all that different? I understand that, the number 13 team doesn't, but I saw somebody making the argument 4-4, and I get that, and I saw, what was it? I'm trying to remember it was making a case for 4. I understand the case for 4, but I do think there are years when 5 and 6 are, they just didn't start in a good spot, and by the end of the year, they deserve a chance to play for it.
Yeah.
Not number 10 or 12, but number 5 or 6, hell yeah, man. And you can't tell me that they don't have no shot, or any shot whatsoever. I think that's kind of BS too, but I'm somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. Number 3, no automatic qualifiers. I think that to get the 12 best teams in there, you don't need to do this, and so that was one of the hang-ups of the Big Ten. Of course, it wasn't really. It was just the thing they threw out there because it's one of those things like, what if our team wins the league and we're not in the top 12? How is that ever going to happen? Please do the math in the scenario where the team that wins the Big Ten is 7-5.
Yeah, I mean, this was something that initially I was just like, no, you should have a conference champion be able to but I backed off of that and for different reasons. But yeah, I'm all for eliminating the AQ. I get why there's the argument for it, but I do think you do get into the territory where now you're forcibly watering it down, whether intentional or not. Whereas if you strip that away, you're going to end up with the best teams. And that's the freaking point at the end of the day is to have the best teams that deserve it to be playing for the playoffs. So I'm with that.
If we're having games that are blowouts now with 4, what's it going to be with 12?
I mean, who cares? I mean, it'll just be better, yeah.
But I do want people to be able to start practice in August with hope that they have a chance to get in the play
and you don't know what it's going to do for and not right away. It won't be right away, but for recruiting down the line, it would be better that if you know that you have a better shot of playing in the playoffs as opposed to, well, if I'm a 5-star, I want to be in the playoff, I want to be in the NFL. There's 7 schools I can go to.
Am I then in the minority that I want conference champions to get in?
Well, I think the top 6 conference champions are going to get in. The top 6 ranked conference champions are going to get in.
No, it's not.
Not necessarily.
Not necessarily.
I don't think the American champ's automatically in there.
That's what the plan was that they put out, was the top 6.
I thought it was the top 6 highest ranked.
The top 6 highest ranked conference champions will get in.
Yeah. I don't know if it's going to be that way.
Maybe it won't, but
because that's kind of what even Sankey, hasn't even Sankey been arguing against that?
What do you mean it won't be that way? That's their idea, or it's not going to happen.
I don't. For some reason, I think that being a conference champion is not going to be the top 6 ranked. They're not going to get in.
You think they're going to renege on that part?
I think they're going to end up trying to make sure that conference champions are not all. Isn't that what they've been discussing? That they don't want automatic qualifiers?
The point, yeah.
But there also aren't automatic. But they're not automatic. If they're a conference champion, but they're not the top 6 ranked, then they're automatically
in the country. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's a scenario where you could be a Power 5 team and be the 7th ranked conference champion, and you're not automatically in.
Let's say 2-loss Oklahoma State upsets undefeated Oklahoma, and they're number 7 in the polls. They wouldn't get in.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I just don't like that.
I mean, they still have a chance because they'd be in that large, but they wouldn't be guaranteed to it. And that also keeps the fact from you have not even that. Say you have 7-5, in these things, the second best team.
If you're 7-5, you win a conference champion. Why do you play the damn game?
But then you not they're also not knocking out the undefeated.
Then don't lose.
Yeah, but we're supposed to be.
You're going to get in because there's going to be more than 5. There's going to be 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 teams. If you're 11, 12 and 0 and losing a conference championship game, you're not going to get knocked out of the playoff. Make the conference champion mean something. Win a conference championship and still be left out?
It does. If you're one of the top 6 highest.
No, why do you have to be a part of the top 6? I know I'm the complete minority here. Win a conference championship, you should get in the championship.
They're trying to avoid having a team get knocked out that's good.
If there's 8 to 12 teams in the playoff, they're not going to get knocked out, Paul, if they're 12 and 0.
Yeah,
11 and 1.
I'm not explaining this the right way, but yeah, there's going to be the 6 top ranked, the good conference champions are going to get in.
Yeah, here's the deal.
there's still 6 at-large teams.
I don't know. I'm confused as to where we are here.
No, you could win a conference championship and have a record of 7-5 or 8-4, whatever, and not get in the national playoff.
Right.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous.
Okay. That's your thought.
I mean, you guys are. No, I'm just telling you. That's my opinion.
Why does a team that? Okay, so a conference championships have trumped the 5 losses that they had.
How does basketball do it? What makes it exciting about the NCAA basketball tournament? You win a conference championship, you lose your mind because you have a chance.
Yeah, and winning conference championships is also like a 20-year tradition now. It's not like this has been the history of college football. The SEC launched this back in like 20 years ago, and now we treat it as though it's been gospel, or 30 years ago, back in the 90s. They made it a big deal. It wasn't a big deal before that.
All right, here's my question about conference champions. How many times has a team with 3, 4, 5 losses won a Power 5 conference champion?
Oh, never, not really.
Then why? Then conference champions get in. Yeah. I know it won't be that way. I don't know why that's so difficult for people to understand, though.
I think it's also that it's a reason for them to keep some of the non-Power 5 teams out.
Of course it is.
But that's
let's let people come into the building, but let's make sure that once they're in, we keep checking their card, their ID, every room they walk into.
Yeah. All right, number 2, no one fought it. I don't want to hear that people fought this thing and had come some harebrained reason not to do it. There's no reason not to do it. As a matter of fact, every reason you hear not to do it will just be people trying to make their conference bigger and keep yours out. You hear me, Pac-12 and ACC? Do you hear me? Don't fight it. Every idea you had about stopping the playoff was dumb and played into the Big Ten's hands. So don't fight it. Just go. It's better for you. You might actually get, the ACC might actually get a second team in the playoffs some years. What do you know?
I agree with this.
I mean, come on.
We should have already,
fight it.
This should have already been a done deal.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you two morons fought it, and now we're all, as fans, reaping the repercussions of that. And number 1, I repeat, that it's happening. Don't have a meeting and say they're going to do this, and don't push it through. Otherwise, don't tell me about the meeting. Keep it secret.
Yeah, I was kind of almost leery when I saw that come out.
Yeah.
From Stephen Smoak, with no divisions and conferences, most likely a 7-5 team won't be playing for a championship anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I get where you're coming from. I'm not like that adamant about it, but I mean, it depends on where you look. There's some people that are in favor of, I mean, that's part of the argument, right? It's part of what they got caught up on, is there are people who see things different ways. I don't think it's like an automatic, this is right and this is wrong. I think there's people that view things differently. And yes, you have to be leery of the SEC or the Big Ten backstabbing politicking so that, yes, they massage it to where 4 teams each of theirs get in and like one Big 12 champ gets into this field. And you do have to be leery of that. But I can also see the argument where, yeah, if you win the Pac-12 any given year, you don't necessarily deserve just automatically to be in, but I don't know. I don't. It's not that big of a deal to me.
I just
honestly.
hope to God they do something that allows for us to have everybody have a chance, rather than what conference you're in. Everybody has a chance, even though I know in the end it's still going to come down to those conferences.
Yeah, but anyways, yeah.
No, what?
No, you're right, but I think you also just win the damn games you're supposed to. Baylor didn't not get in last year because of this or that. They didn't get in because they lost to TCU.
No, that's right.
So
I don't know of anyone who really argued that.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, I don't know. It's in the eye of the beholder. We got to go.
If you dig it, the eye of the beholder, if you win a conference championship, it takes it out of the eye of the beholder.
Yeah.
It's not a beauty contest. It's win or lose, and you get in. And if you lose, you can still get in. But if you win, you're in.
Yeah.
And it takes away politics and how big a fan base is, or who has the most opportunity to travel, or who's a part of a conference. Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah. No, I think that they're trying, the non-AQs is mostly so other teams get 2 teams in, at least. But also it would keep, it would also keep, in those rare scenarios we're talking about, it would keep a team that stepped all over its own feet in the conference championship not from getting knocked out, that we could see them again, as opposed to just that rule only applies to Alabama.
All right, we got to go. Games are starting. Good luck to all of the teams, all of your favorite, whoever your favorite team is. Back at it tomorrow. Craig and Grayson at 3. Paul and I will be in Odessa for a high school game with a couple of things that we'll bring from there as well. For Garrett Ross, also Jacob Wilson, Levi Caraway, Jack McKenzie. Is Emery not here again today? Emery Winter, we always still say thank you. Good night, Sikkim 365 Radio, 365 Sports.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.